And I'm calling the May 5th, 2025 Select Board meeting to order. I see we have everyone here. I don't think we need to call.
Don't need to do a roll.
Yeah, go ahead. Are you going to do a roll?
No.
Me too.
We're
Okay,
all here.
there is no need to do, because I'm rusty.
We don't have any-
I'm rusty. Okay.
I was reaching for the timer so we can do our public comment.
As usual, we start our meetings with public comment. I ask people to limit their public comment to 3 minutes and have public comments should address things that are under the consideration of the board. Do I have public comment? Mr. Galis.
Hello, thank you. Mark Ailes, 62 Prescott Road, chairing the Transportation Advisory Committee, but speaking for myself about climate resilience. I suggest that we, as a town, emphasize restoration and protection of our supportive natural systems, including wetlands, forested areas, meadowlands, to increase Concord's resilience for extreme weather events such as rains and flooding or prolonged drought. This approach also provides benefits of carbon capture, supports biodiversity, and improved human health. At Town Meeting 2017, Article 51, focusing on energy, created, sustainability from the standpoint of decarbonized energy and conservation. But at Annual Town Meeting 2018, Article 23 emphasized the important role of preserving natural systems and using them. These are more often effective than so-called engineered solutions and longer lasting, lower cost. One thing I suggest that we can do is for the town to join the Massachusetts Ecosystem Climate Adaptation Network, MassECAN, MassECAN.org. It's coordinated by UMass Amherst Department of Environmental Conservation and UMass Extension. I was at their annual conference last Wednesday with 50 people, including state environmental officials, scientists from different nature conservation groups, professor from UMass Amherst who presented peer-reviewed international studies on the amazing higher effectiveness of these approaches compared to so-called engineered solutions. There were Massachusetts state environmental officials there, representatives of scientists from nature preservation groups, engineering firms that do ecological permitting, etc. I just want to mention also that there's an opportunity now that the climate action and resilience plan is being revised by the Climate Action Committee to emphasize these aspects more. And also, if the Select Board at any point takes up a revision of the Climate Action Committee charge to include more emphasis on preservation of these very helpful natural systems, and also perhaps add some additional opportunity for people with expertise in this area to sit on the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galis.
One more thing. If anyone would like to get the slides from this conference, I have them, and just contact me. Some
Thank
very
you.
interesting things.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none in the room and none online, I will move to the consent agenda. I really think the only thing on this consent agenda that's relevant tonight is the ARPA update report. We don't have the minutes. We don't have the.
Yeah.
We don't have.
Just checking. I know, I didn't know.
No.
Yeah.
We don't have the warrants. We don't have any gift acceptances, except we have a whole separate agenda item for that. And we have no one-day liquor licenses. And the ARPA update, there's no acceptance. It's simply information only. So there's no motion here.
Right.
Well, we need to move to approve the town warrants of April 22nd
right.
and 20.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Go ahead.
I move, we'll just do that. We'll just move to accept the consent agenda items except for the minutes and which essentially boils down to the accountant warrants of April 22nd and April 24th.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Okay. The next item is the flag raising and proclamation request. And I asked specifically for these to be put on the agenda because this is the first time we are processing a flag raising request since we put the new policy in place. And frankly, when these came in, I was a little unclear on exactly how we'd left things. I believe we had decided that what we would do is they would be sponsored by a select board member, which in this case is me. They're coming from the DEI Commission. And we would present them at one meeting and then approve them at a following meeting. And I didn't really have the exact language for that. So when putting together this agenda, so the proclamations are in the packet. And so really, I wasn't expecting that we would actually vote on these, but just for your awareness, the dates are listed about the requests. And really the question, I think, for the board is there anything further that we need to know or want to see when these requests do come in the future? Both of these are requests that we've previously approved in prior years, so they're not a new organization or a new form of request. So there's nothing different about this from prior years. So I just was kind of submitting it for discussion to make sure that we're following what we all understand to be the new policy.
So what I wasn't clear with, I read the proclamations, but I didn't see anything about a flag raising.
Yeah,
So
the
I
flag
think that's-
raisings are requested on the dates that are listed, June 7th for Concord Pride Day, which is Saturday, and
Yep.
Thursday, June 19th for Juneteenth.
Is that in the proclamation? I didn't see it.
Right.
I just want to be clear. So
So when
what-
did we approve that, I guess?
Well,
Yeah, so I guess so I think in the instructions, we sort of said, make sure that we understand, it has to be 30 days in advance, and what's the day, and in addition to that, whether there's going to be a request to fly additional flags on the light pole holders. And so we can verbally talk about it, I just don't know if
Yeah.
you have that information.
So there's three things. One is we have to approve the flag raising, either this meeting or next meeting.
So
whatever.
motion, yep.
Second one is to approve the proclamation, this meeting or next meeting.
That's
And the
right.
third thing is, are there additional flags to approve?
Exactly.
Is there a request to, yeah.
Yeah, I
right,
mean, yeah,
And I-
Which is a separate decision that we can.
right.
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 Okay.
So, and I'm going to say that I know that there is not a request to fly additional flags for the June 19th, Juneteenth, but I am not aware at the moment as to whether or not they did do that last year. So is Joe here? So, yeah, I was hoping you'd be here.
Yep.
Is there a request to fly additional flags for Pride Day?
Evening, everyone. Okay, over at 2:50. So, based on my understanding or the DEI Commission's understanding of the policy you approved, that we were first supposed to ask for the approval of a proclamation, and that proclamation would trigger flag raising and additional flags, as it couldn't happen unless A happened.
Yeah.
That was how I thought we understood it. So in the packet of information we sent in, we requested both
Okay.
for Pride Day.
We don't have it.
Kind of that says the same
Yeah.
thing as last year.
Okay.
But in the proclamation, we wanted to be careful, it didn't say that because it hadn't been approved. So the proclamation language is just proclaiming the day, but not mentioning flags because that hadn't been approved. So we have to order it, I guess, in a certain way. But for Juneteenth, it's a
Yeah.
request for a proclamation and a flag raising.
Okay.
For Pride Day, June 7th, it's a request for the proclamation, the flag raising, and the additional decorated flags like last year that we already own.
And you want to bring that back next meeting?
Yeah, so
Okay.
this was an announcement, think about it. I'm thinking about it like nomination and appoint.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's appearing at
That's
two
fine.
meetings. It's clearly, we've had these actually, we had them from even before our last meeting, so well in advance of 30 days to process them. And so my question is, do we want to see I don't believe we have a form, so
No.
the information came in to Andrea. So we could you know, eventually create a form that makes it a little bit more standard and looks like that, but these obviously have dates associated with them, and we want to make sure
So-
that we,
I think we, sort of 2 points of clarification. One is, I don't think the proclamation had to be approved prior to the flag raising or that. So I think it could probably come together. I don't think our intention was
okay.
to
Right, I
sequence them
agree.
that way.
Yeah.
The second thing was, I think we deliberately didn't create a form either because we didn't think it was that frequent. But at the bottom of the policy, it clearly says it must have the date, the sponsor, the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in it, but I think everything you need is in text in the bottom of the policy. So as long as it's in there, I think
Right,
we're
so
good.
my suggestion is that in the future, the select board member that is sponsoring this, just write a one-paragraph cover memo saying, this is the request, it's for these flags, it's on this date, it's, you know,
Mhm.
blah, blah,
Okay.
blah.
And include the proclamation.
Yeah, whatever it all is, right.
great.
Okay?
Okay, so having
Yep.
said that, do we want to vote on the proclamation tonight, and then, or does it matter? I mean,
Well, procedurally, I don't, we haven't done that with other proclamations, like the one from
No.
last week, we didn't. So,
Yeah, I mean, typically
was-
when we do a proclamation, it appears and we vote on it right
Yeah.
away, but
so I'm
again, I
fine
was
doing
being
it.
sensitive to the fact that we're
Yeah, it's the
We're
new first
running a
time.
new policy.
Yep.
We haven't got our procedures completely done. I appreciate Joe's thoroughness
Yeah.
in what was submitted, and I have seen all of that.
Mm-hmm.
What ended up in the packet was just the proclamations.
So I'm fine voting on the proclamations today, for the
Okay.
record. And I think the flag raising, we can have another detailed discussion and
Okay.
just vote on it next week.
So we'll
Okay.
do the
Yeah.
raising on the 12th. Okay.
Makes sense.
You want to make a motion, Wendy?
Yeah, do we want to do proclamations together?
Sure.
I mean, okay, I move that we approve the proclamations for the Concord Pride celebration that's going to be on Saturday, June 7th, as well as the proclamation for Juneteenth, National Independence Day on June 19th.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, you'll
Great.
come back next week.
Yeah,
Great.
I'll make sure that they're,
Good. Okay. Thank you. Next item on the
Thank you, Joe.
agenda
Yeah.
is nominations. No motion here, it's simply a nomination. I hope to appoint Matt next week. The next item is the appointments.
well,
What?
aren't our nominations usually in the?
no,
No, we don't.
no, just,
No, we
there
don't
was
have-
confusion last week, too.
Yeah, no,
we-
we don't.
We don't need a motion to nominate.
Okay.
We need a motion and a vote to for
approve.
appoint
Right.
and
Okay.
reappointment.
That's
So let's move
So
to the
let's-
appointments.
The appointments.
So sorry, the nomination, Mary, is
Yeah,
that, just for clarification, that's an existing open
yes,
position?
yes.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Who is leaving that board?
It's been vacant for a long time.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was a vacancy.
I didn't either. Okay.
Okay,
Because Linda,
all right.
Keith, Mary?
Linda, I don't know. Whatever. Mary's got it covered.
I don't know, I don't remember, but I did look it
So
up.
I think, I don't know how many positions are authorized on the Affordable Housing Trust without
5.
looking.
Yeah,
No, there's,
yeah.
I think there's seven.
Seven.
Oh.
There
Or,
are seven,
and
yeah.
I think we had 5 for a long time. We have 6 now,
And-
and this is a 7th.
Thank you.
I think it's 7,
You're
right?
right.
It's not,
Because
Yes,
we
you're right.
had
more.
5 for so long, I thought it
Yeah.
was 5.
Yeah, it's 7.
Okay.
And just,
Yeah.
Matt is not already on another
He's not.
board or
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
and would-
He's rolling off the foundation board, right? Or was
But
No,
that's-
he's on the Concord Housing Foundation,
But that's not a town committee.
I know, it's not, that's what I'm saying, but it's not a town committee.
It's not a town committee, exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
no, he's not.
Okay.
Okay. We ready for a select board?
approve that, or?
No.
No, we
So we
just,
will next week.
next week it'll be an appointment. Okay. So move to appoint Walter Clay of 675 Sudbury Road to the Historic Districts Commission for a full term, as a full-term member, for a term to expire January 1st, 2030.
Second.
We have more.
Are we going to read them all at once?
Okay,
Okay.
move to approve D. Ortner of 169 Thoreau Street, number 4, to, as Town of Concord's representative to the Minuteman Vocational Tech School District for a term from July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. And move to approve the town manager's appointment of Bill Comezza of 28 Davis Court to the Natural Resources Commission for a second term ending June 1st, 2028.
I have a question. I thought that you appointed Dee Ortner last week.
No,
That was
That was the
a
correction.
nomination.
yeah.
That was the
It
nomination.
was a motion, but we never nominated her. So we clarified that we should
Right.
nominate first and then appoint
Right.
second.
Right.
Okay, I got
Yeah,
it.
that's,
Okay,
yeah, it
good.
appeared in error, so, okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, but let's move on to the Doug White gift acceptance. Carrie?
Okay, terrific. I actually am hoping that I can introduce Anthony Ansaldi, the CFO, to help walk through this, as he's been the staff person working most closely on this project. Is that okay? I was trying to catch your eye before, but you weren't looking at me, so thank you.
So good evening. We had a very successful bid opening today. We had 7 bids that came in for Doug White Field, which is great because that makes it very competitive. And you know, we do have an aggressive schedule where we want this completed between August 1st and September 1st. So, the bids, right now, they're still being evaluated, but we have 2 low bids that have come in within the dollar amount below what we had hoped. We had that today, and Seth was there, and Eric.
Hi.
So,
You want to introduce yourself and?
Of course, Seth Vanderswaal, 181 Alcott Road, here as the president of the Friends of CC Playing Fields.
Thank you.
That is the organization that has collected fees and has the funds to pay for this replacement.
Good, welcome.
yeah, so, you know, obviously we can't award a contract unless we have a funding source. So Seth and the group was willing to work with us as far as the timing, and he came today to the bid opening, and we figured out exactly what he had to write that check for. He told me it was his largest check, him and Eric, that they ever wrote. You know, when you say $1 million, that's not an everyday check. So everything's proceeding really, really great right now. We're probably going to be meeting next week to finalize the contractor, and within a couple weeks after that, we'll have negotiated or have a contract signed, and expect to begin work later in this month or the early June at the latest, if everything continues to go as smooth and on schedule as we've planned. So, which was key because the schools, obviously, we wanted to get that field done before the start of the school year when that field gets really used heavily. So everything's looking good, and Seth's here tonight to present this generous check.
Yeah, great. Well, this is fun. So as I said, Seth Vanderswaal, 181 Alcott Road, president of Friends of CC Playing Fields. Here tonight to present this check and the gift to the town for the replacement of the Doug White turf fields at the high school. As Anthony said, we reviewed the bids. We were very pleased that the amount came in within budget, within the amount that we have diligently collected over the last 15 years, plus fundraised for more recently. So we feel good about being able to provide this. I have to say a big thank you. I think, I just lost my notes here, but a big thank you to Carrie, to Anthony, and lots of others for the partnership during this project. It's moved pretty quickly, and we appreciate all the energy and enthusiasm to put us in a position to receive these bids, provide this gift, go under contract hopefully, and start this project so that it is completed before the super busy fall season. That's really exciting. We sent a letter to Carrie indicating that we were presenting this gift, and we asked that, we know that this total amount includes a contingency fee, so that the final project may not actually cost the amount of the gift. So any unused funds, we were hopeful that either they could be returned to the Friends of CC Playing Fields after the project, so that we could put them back into an interest-bearing account, because we know that the turf fields will need replacement at some time in the future, around 15 years from now, and we would use this as a starting point for that. And if that's not possible for any reason, we've talked to Anthony, and ideally they would go into an interest-bearing account owned by the town, but for the sole purpose of being put towards future replacement. So without further ado, the amount is $1,490,390. Again, I've never written $1 million on a check. It's really
Feel
fun.
good?
Say that,
And,
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yes, of course. $1,490,390.
Thank you. Yep.
And again, thank you for the partnership, and we're really excited to see this continue.
Great,
I
great.
feel like we should clap.
Yeah.
I know,
clap.
right? Well, and you know what, there's been a lot of foresight into the pre-planning and knowing that this was coming, and to the credit of your organization to collect those funds, it's really been great. It's a win-win for everybody all involved, so, great.
Any questions?
Well,
Good
it
for
feels
Seth
like
or-
maybe there might be, I know I'm jumping to problem solving, but maybe there's some escrow mechanism that would allow us to issue a contract while the funds stayed in that account until they were expended on the.
No. We can't do that, but, I think we just have to confirm with town council. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to refund when we're done with the project back to
Yeah,
the
okay.
Friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be much better in
Yep.
theirs, and it's just another less account that we have to worry
Right,
about.
right.
So this amount includes a disposal of the current, wow, okay, that's
Which,
good,
yeah,
that's
to
really,
recycle, to repurpose. They use it for,
Excellent.
you might see the decking, when you replace your deck, those synthetic wood. That's
Okay,
some
great.
that gets made into that.
Maybe there's one more point of what it covers. It's the turf, but we also asked the contractors or those who bid on it to include an extra component, which is called a shock pad, which is an underlayment under the turf, which is included if possible. It's not necessary. You can play on turf without it, but it is added safety and protection for concussion, for impact.
Yep.
And so we're really pleased that the bids actually came back at a level that allows us to not only pay for the turf, but include the shock pad
Oh,
as
that's
well.
great.
Great.
That's great to hear, because, you weren't sure about that. That's great.
this really has been an amazing process.
Right.
It's the fastest thing, because we've been talking about this for a long time, and then to finally do it and come together and do it for the district, because it's on district land, is remarkable. So I'm pleased with everybody's work. Really, it's the best we can do. I also noticed in here, there's something about revisiting the master agreement. That was a positive sign as well. What's the next step there?
And is it more than one agreement, too?
Basically, the agreement as to who's
Yeah.
operating
Yeah.
the field.
Yes,
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 Over
yes,
now.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And what are we,
I mean,
what's the option on the table?
well, there's 6 years left, I think, in the existing agreement, so I think we'd like to get the project done.
Yes.
Yep.
And then we'll look at a timetable for taking a look at the next
That would be
agreement.
great.
So maybe in the fall.
So that when this comes up again,
Right.
a lot of the obstacles you had to get through will be already thought through.
Well, and it's also interesting, because, like, we have an agreement with the high school to manage the fields, and then there's the funding agreement for receiving it. So relooking at the whole thing
Right.
might make some sense. So you should
Yeah.
consider that as an
Well,
option.
And especially that you've
'cause
learned
it's-
so much.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah, and to your point, Mary, I think that's helped move the process along, because a
Yeah, yeah.
lot of things were spelled out in the original contract.
Right.
And we learned from
Yeah.
that, and we can only
Yeah.
make it better and cleaner
Right.
for.
right.
So if you wait too long after it's constructed, you're going to forget all of those details again. So it'll really be good to do it in the fall.
Yeah, Friends of CC Plainfield is 100% open to it
Yeah.
and wants to see that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be very helpful for whoever takes it on this project
right.
15 years from now.
That's right.
Because it won't be me.
Well, it's great. It's a
Okay.
great project. Thank you
Great,
for all
yes.
your effort.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Awesome.
Anthony.
Thank
Thank
you
you, Carrie. Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Seth.
Okay,
Thank you.
we ready for a motion?
Yes,
Yes.
go ahead.
Move to approve with gratitude. The Doug White gift acceptance is included in the select board meeting packet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank
Do we
you,
have to
everybody.
specify the amount in the motion? It's not in, I didn't see it anywhere in the packet, the amount.
Do we need to specify the amount?
The amount of this,
Yeah.
Check.
no, it's because we had to wait till the bid opening, so we knew what to factor into the contingent. So
No.
once we had the bid opening, then they ran to the bank,
Okay.
and that's why
But-
it was left blank.
But do
Okay.
we need the amount in
Will
the
we
motion?
need it later?
that
Will we
You
need,
did it
Should
in
we
the
revote
motion.
it?
Okay.
Just do it over
In
again.
the amount
So-
of $1,490,390.
That's right.
Okay,
With
okay.
the hope that at the end of the project, we can return the funds to the Friends.
No, there'll be
Okay.
more money involved.
Okay.
okay.
Right.
So I'll try this one more time.
Go ahead.
Move to approve the Doug White gift acceptance in the amount of $1,490,390 as included in the select board meeting packet, with the understanding that if possible, unspent funds for this project will be returned to CC Playing Fields.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
And
Again,
it's
thank
actually,
you.
there's a lot more money involved, right? Because this is a much larger than just the 1.4, right? Isn't it more? The
It's
total
not-
field cost?
It's not much larger.
Okay,
There's the Gale Associates
Yeah, yeah,
contract
okay.
that is something.
Separate, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There was a 10% contingency.
Okay,
And
all
what
right,
we
that's
did,
right.
we went off of the second lowest bidder, just in case the first one
Okay.
was thrown out. So they
Okay.
know that.
Sure,
And that's kind of the reason why we had to wait till today to
great.
get the
That's
approval.
But that still
Yep.
fits in under the,
Yeah, it's still within.
Yeah, the original,
Yeah.
what I think will be the winning bid is 1.3 and change.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yep.
Okay, good. Moving on, I'm going to keep going even though we're ahead of schedule a little bit. Discuss the status of the land use working group and the action plan. As you know, we approved the charge for the land use working group. We sent out an email to the committees asking them to nominate a representative from their committee or their designee to sit on the task force. So far, the responses have been, the school committee has asked us to delay until mid-June because they want to seat their school committee, given the turnover at the elections. We had asked for an April 30th deadline. I feel that we can seat the working group and have the school committee join us later. I don't think we have to wait to get it up and running before the school committee nominates someone. Do other people agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you asked, and if I recall, Carrie was amenable to you starting without their
Yes,
representative.
Right. Other nominees from the Public Works Commission, Sven Weber. From the MCI Advisory Board, Scott Bates. From the 2229 Main Street Task Force, Paul Bohm. From the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust, Keith Bergman. From the Economic Vitality Committee, Mark Martinez. From the Recreation Commission, Phil Griffiths. And that leaves the Select Board liaison and or the Select Board member and the at-large nominee. The thing that's happened since we approved the charge, though, that's been brought to my attention by several people, is we neglected to include a planning board member or their designee.
Oh,
And I feel like that's an oversight that we
Yeah.
should discuss. I'm open to ideas on how to correct that. The things that we could expand the number of members, we could replace the at-large with someone from the planning board. I don't think we can go back to the other people and say,
No.
sorry, we don't have any room for you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
I mean, one thought,
Yeah,
we have 9 people on the committee.
we do.
I'm generally not a fan of
Big
big
committees,
giant
yeah.
committees, however,
Yeah,
this is one that has a lot of interest, and we are nominating a lot of people from other committees. So one thought would be you add somebody from the planning board
Yep.
and add one additional at-large.
yep.
Yeah.
So then way you have 2 at-large
Yeah,
people.
it's you.
Mhm.
The
Yep.
others are
Yep.
members of the committees, you have 11. It's always nice to have an odd
It is.
Yeah.
number, just for
Yeah.
voting purposes.
It is.
right?
Yeah.
So that's one thought.
Okay.
Also
Just
for quorums.
Expand it by 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, quorum,
Yep.
yeah, it does
Well,
make an
we-
issue with the quorum, so that's what people should be aware of.
We had started with 2 at-large anyway, and
Right,
then
I
we
know.
replaced
And
it
we've
with,
talked
so,
about Rec Commission and.
right, exactly. So that's an idea. What do other people think?
I think it's okay. It does make a larger quorum, but I think most people are going to want to be at this meeting,
I think
so
this-
I don't think
This
that's
is going to be a
as
hardworking
concern.
group.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is,
there's a
yeah.
lot of
I had-
reading just to get started,
I
but
did have one other question, because I think you said Paul Bohm was a rec department, but he's not going to be on the rec. He's
No,
going to be.
no,
in-
no,
2229
2229.
Main.
Okay.
Force, which
You
is
talk
dis-
really fast. Why
Which is
don't you-
want me to go-
disbanding,
do you want
which
me
is
to go down it again?
disbanding anyway.
No, I just, but he is going to be a select board
Right.
He is.
member, so I just don't know that that makes sense. I mean, I get that he covers the interest, don't get me wrong, but
There he is.
do we need us, well, I don't know,
Yeah, no,
just,
actually, that's a good point. I mean, if
Because
somebody's
he's-
on the select board, are they
They shouldn't, then you're going to have two select board members, technically.
I think we do. I think we need someone there who's focused on the 2229 Main Street aspect of it.
No, that I
which-
understand, yeah.
And I
but-
think we need someone from the select board there as well. That's it, that's looking at it from the select board's perspective. That's my opinion.
We just have two select board members
No,
on it. That's
agreed.
what
I
I'm
just-
just,
Yeah.
Do we
yeah.
normally have people on
We
the
don't
select
usually
board
have
or
two
just sort
voting
of
members.
sit on committees not as the select board representative?
Yeah, I'm on the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust.
It's a question of whether there's more than
Not
one.
as the-
Select board,
I'm just on the trust I am on the select board and I'm on the trust.
But we don't
you're
have,
the select board appointee, aren't you?
No, not really. I mean,
you're
it
I thought you
wasn't,
were.
actually, Carrie, you might be able to help me there. Was I the
Well,
designee or was I
used
just?
to be the chair, well, I don't know.
I think you are the select board's appointee,
Yeah,
but
I
you are a
think so.
voting
Okay.
member of that.
Right.
I'm a
board.
voting member.
Right,
Yes.
and that's not different than I'm on the middle school building committee and the Warner's Pond
Yeah, I
Task
guess
Force. and
what
the-
is different is that
and the
there aren't
NCI
two
advisory.
select board
That's what's
voting
different.
members on any committee. So this would be a precedent,
It would,
maybe for a good one, but
yeah,
just,
it is. No, it's good that
Yeah.
that we're clear.
yeah.
I would personally suggest it would be easier if there was somebody else who could represent 2229 Main.
Right. My understanding
not a
is
select board
that,
member, Because then you're
that,
gonna get into like, okay, now we're gonna appoint ourselves
Yeah.
yeah.
to committees and.
Well, we're not appointing ourselves. He was appointed by. the
Yeah, that
committee.
group got together and voted that. And so it does create a somewhat
creates a
awkward
bit of a-
situation.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
does, except,
I think that's a
oh,
slippery
to me, the overriding thing is who's the best person.
His
Yeah,
expertise.
no, I think the expertise is spot on.
what's
I don't think,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I work
Yeah,
for National
yeah.
Grid, should you put me on the light plant board and?
Yeah.
on the-
Yeah.
I don't know, that feels a little, I'm just saying that feels a little bit like, I don't think
Well,
that's good governance.
I think
just
it's,
don't
I think
that's
it's,
I don't
it's
know.
a little different because,
That's
I mean,
different.
clearly there's, when somebody is employed by an organization and then engage, but
I'm
this,
just saying as a slip, you just
the-
you
the-
get into.
yeah, we're talking about
Yeah.
one task force that we put together. It is a little tricky, and I think that that's why we want to discuss it, you know, take a look at how it's coming together now, and then consider whether this or any, you know, frankly, I would argue for any other changes, you know, given that it's been probably 6 weeks at least since we approved that last charge. Have we thought of anything that we want to charge this committee with? Because it's probably also a few weeks out anyway from actually seating this committee. So that was the whole idea of taking a checkpoint right here and see how we're doing with this.
We've got a hand raised, Linda Escobedo. Linda, do you have a comment that you'd like to make now?
I do, thank you. Mary, when you read the original list of who was representing each committee,
Yes.
if I understood you correctly, you indicated that Keith Bergman was representing the Economic Development Committee, but didn't you mean he was recommending the trust?
I did.
Yes.
I did. So I misspoke. Do you, let me do this again, because apparently
Yeah.
I read it too
I did
fast.
say it correctly, but you went really fast.
Okay. The school committee has delayed until mid-June. The Public Works Commission is Sven Weber. The MCI Advisory Board is Scott Bates. The 2229 Task Force has nominated Paul Bohm. The Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust has nominated Keith Bergman. The Economic Vitality Committee has nominated Mark Martinez. The Rec Commission has nominated Phil Griffiths. And the at-large, we have 3 candidates, 3 qualified candidates that have submitted volunteer cards for the at-large. And then I opened it up for the discussion around how do we get someone from the planning board on this working group?
So I like the idea of adding the planning board. It seems like they're really missing here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Has anybody talked to them to see what they think? Or do they want to be involved? Do they want to nominate someone?
Well, I heard through the planning board that we
Okay, good. That's fine.
neglected.
That's fine. That's
So
fine.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not a fan of having even number committees, so I don't like having 11, but I think it'll work. It'll be,
But 11's odd.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so that's
okay.
good, yeah.
That would mean 2 at large.
2 at large.
Yeah,
And I would very much like to be the select board appointee to this committee.
So would I, but I'd support you being on the committee.
Thank you. Thank you.
it's, coming from a person who's sitting on a couple of things that look like task forces, it's
Yeah.
I think when we start looking at our liaison assignments this
Yeah.
time around, and I think that we should recirculate that list. Actually being a seated member of a committee is at least twice, if not more, of the work. And particularly when we go for one of these things, which we're expecting some results in a year, that can be a pretty heavy lift. And so I just want to acknowledge that we should pay attention to the workload of that.
Well, I won't be the chair anymore.
We've got the
Right.
whole
Yeah,
look at the committees coming up, probably, right?
right, we will.
All of them.
And, you know, that's another thing that gives me a little bit of pause as I say that, is to have two select board members actually, you know, focused on the same thing, even if they're bringing different levels of expertise to it. You know, I wonder what's not getting attended to if we're in that situation too. I mean,
Well, remember, there'll be some synergies with the work
Yeah.
that's done here.
right,
I mean, this is integral to everything else that's happening.
there's no doubt that this is one of the most important things that's going to be worked on in the next year, because I think that trying to, you know, we spent 3 hours today looking at just MCI Concord and trying to repeat that process across the number of parcels that are available and potentially online is very complex. It's so it's going, you know, it takes people with background and talent to do that, which is another reason I'm pretty comfortable with a larger group, especially a group where each person is actually bringing some specific expertise and perspective to the table, because they are going to have to cover a lot of ground.
Okay, so any other comments people have?
No, but I, you know, to Mark's point, you know, having more people, 11, is probably a good thing, if there really is. Then you're really going to spread some of the wealth.
Yeah, what we've
Of
done
work.
in both of the MCI Advisory Board and the Warner's Pond Task Force is then promptly divided into 3 subcommittees, which are then working on different aspects of the problem. So we've got the public engagement, the land use and the government affairs. In the MCI case and Warner's Pond, we
Right.
worked 3 different proposals in parallel, and that was a pretty effective way to get more work through the system. And so that is also a use for a
Right.
bigger group.
And the 2229 Main Street, Paul set up that kind
Did
of
the same thing.
organization.
Yeah.
Was very, very effective,
It
yep.
seems to be a useful model.
Megan and I have been talking about this in the past few weeks, and one of the things we want to do at the beginning of this, when this group gets going, is have a tour of the sites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something that we all do together, so that we understand, you know, what are we talking about here.
Great idea,
Um,
yeah.
And we also have a lot of reading. There's a lot of material already available that people need to read and be up to speed on, so that they're clear on what the goals for the town are, and don't just come with their own agenda. So we've got some work to do as a group, but then, yes, working into subcommittees, I think, is something we have to do. So what I'm hearing is increase it to 11 members, right? Talk to the planning board and get their nominee. And then we increase it to 2 at-large members, and we've got 3 candidates. I think I will interview the 3 candidates and make a recommendation. Is that agreeable? But-
Are you receiving the volunteer cards for those, or is the whole board receiving the volunteer cards for those?
I've got 3, but are there more?
I think there may be.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there
if we
might be
could just
more.
make sure that we share,
Yeah,
I mean, we can't all interview everybody, so
right.
we have to divide and conquer. But I think we should all see who
The cards.
Yeah, who do?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
who's
So I'll
submitted,
send the
who do we
updated
think are
list
the
to
candidates?
How many are there?
I don't know, but I know the town clerk's office called me today and said, I just got a card, what do I do with it? And I
Yes.
said, I don't know, I'll find out tonight.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I think I know who that is, so I think
Yeah,
that's one
let's
of,
just see who the nominees are. And just
okay,
make sure
Yeah.
so we have an action item to find out all the volunteer cards and circulate them to all of us.
Yep.
Great, okay, very good. And I know of three.
Yeah,
I know
Yeah.
of three.
okay. And then we would, sorry, but you
Go ahead.
come back with the recommendations.
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
membership.
Yeah, okay.
And the planning board's meeting tomorrow, and then they won't meet again till the end of the month, so. They're meeting tomorrow. If you want to just send off, is there a memo that
So
must
I
have been?
think,
Wouldn't it have to be on their agenda?
Yeah, it would.
yeah, but I think our
But-
target for getting
I don't
this
know.
initially started is right after town meeting, isn't it?
Right, you wanted to get this in May, actually, if I
I
recall.
wanted to get it up and running in May, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
At
so-
least, yeah, I did.
Okay,
So,
we're gonna see this next week?
yes,
Okay.
okay.
And I just would recommend if we, I don't think it's good precedent to be placing members of the select board into committees.
Yeah.
So if we could find someone else who is qualified, that's, not saying that's the view of the whole select board, but that is certainly my view.
Okay. Yeah, we did talk, Paul and I did talk about that, and I wanted the best expertise.
Mm. Okay, well, we know the decision in front of us, and
Yep.
we'll have to make it.
Okay, good. No motion here, just action items. The next item on our agenda is to discuss the warrant article recommendations. You did some great work last week as far as, putting a lot of the recommendations down. This FinCom met subsequent to your meeting, so we've got some more information from them. So what I'd like to do tonight is basically, I think we've got three pieces of work in front of us. One is to look at our recommendations and see if there are any that we can update, or that we can make if we have new information, or if we were waiting for a FinCom recommendation. And then once we get the recommendations down, then I want to go to agreeing on what we would like to see on the consent calendar. And then I would like to talk about anything that we think is a high-interest article that we would like to schedule. And Carmen, are you online?
I believe so.
Carmen is
I am here.
Great. Carmen, does that sound like a good, does that sound like the work we need to do tonight?
It does.
Okay. Good. Okay. Let's start with the third column on our spreadsheet here, the recommendations.
And we're reminded that we should, because the motions need to be published in the briefing book, there needs to be a name of a select board member moving the motions. And in the past, that's either been someone in
Let's
a
hold that off.
rotation or just simply the chair.
Let's do the first three things I
Okay.
talked about.
Sure.
Oh, 'cause-
Well, I was thinking while we go down the list, if we just,
Oh, okay.
do each one at a time.
Well, I was going to skip down right away to the recommendations that we haven't already made.
Okay.
So the first one that I was wondering about is this Article 6, the line item adjustments. Is there going to
There's
be?
no
No
motion
motion
expected.
There's no motion?
anticipated, right.
Okay, that's why there's nothing there. Good. Okay, this is for me. Thank you. The next one, the amenities building, this is still something we want to report at town meeting.
I didn't remember that we said that. I thought we were going to do some follow-up. There were some open questions on,
No, I think you voted to
Sewer hookup.
report at town meeting.
me? Do you guys all remember
Well-
voting at town meeting? I thought we were going to follow
Well,
up.
we do have open questions.
Right, it
And
was
We
open
do.
so-
questions.
I have questions about the sewer costs, the sewage cost. I know that
Okay.
had come up.
Yeah, last week we thought we might have more information to talk, so I have it down as we deferred our decision about that till tonight.
Right.
Right,
So we
but
did-
if we don't have all the answers, then we
Then-
might have to continue to.
So I'll just say that I did outreach to Julie and Carrie about it, and they confirmed that they were having some discussions with Alan, that Bob had been speaking with Alan. They know they have $200,000 in capital stabilization that they feel is sufficient to cover any sewer hookup capacity costs. So that's what they said in email. I don't know if we want to wait till we hear from Alan.
This is an email from whom?
From Julie Viola. about the
Saying
amenities building,
that it would
I
come
asked
from
the
the
question of,
stabilization?
have you followed up with Alan around the sewer hookup
Right.
design? And in relation to that, do you know what the cost is, and do you have concerns or funds to cover it? The answer was, yes, we're in discussion with Alan, and we have $200,000 that we think, I don't know if that was the estimate that they had, but they have $200,000 they feel is available to cover any costs associated with the hookup.
Then I guess my question would be, why, if they found $200,000, why wasn't that applied to the $1.4 million based
Because
on the
I think that
composting?
it was not authorized until mid-April when the school committee voted to transfer $200,000 out of their E&D
Capital
account to the
stabilization.
capital stabilization fund. So it was not available at the time that they
But they could
made
have
that
come
decision.
they could have come and lowered the 1.4 to 1.2.
No,
This
this
is from
this
their
happened while you were
excess
away. Well, no, it didn't.
No, it
because
didn't. I
you
was
voted.
there.
But we received last week, well, we reviewed last week
I know.
the memo
I
and
know.
took no action. But so that's the point in which we had formal notification of the transfer. I'm just saying it's a timing thing.
At the FinCom
Yeah.
hearing,
I know, you raised it.
at the FinCom hearing, I raised the question of, why can't we use the stabilization that they had voted at their previous
Mm-hmm.
school committee meeting they were excess E&D.
Yeah.
They had excess E&D, and they were going to put some of that in OPEB and
Right.
some of that in the capital. So I raised the question, why can't you use the amount in the capital stabilization fund to offset the amenities building? And the answer was kind of confusing. So now I'm guess what I'm hearing now is that if there is an incremental cost to move from composting to town sewage, that they can cover it with the 200,000 from the excess E&D. And I still have my question is, well, why couldn't they have used that $200,000 to reduce the $1.4 million estimate for a composting amenities building? So I don't
So I will
know how
just-
much
yeah.
this costs.
Well, the composting amenities building
Was
was
never on the table.
represented to be much more expensive in the first place, so I'm not sure that the net of that would have
Yeah, I don't think that,
less. My reaction to this, though, is that it was brought forward in the hearing that there is no application before the Public Works Commission
Right.
for a sewer hookup, so there's no design for that. And it strikes me that we're considering asking town meeting to vote for a project where the numbers at best seem to be estimates of ideas that are coming. It just doesn't seem to be either clean or organized. Now, I could be convinced that they have done the proper level of creating a budget that is firm enough for us to authorize funding by town meeting, but I haven't seen that yet.
so the only other comment I'll just say that they're also meeting, Julie's meeting with Bob, and Julie's also meeting with Sven, and so there
Sven's
may be
here.
some more, yeah, I'm
Sven is
just,
here,
but
so-
they're meeting tomorrow. So my point is, there's more just,
Well, we got to be careful. We have to be careful.
yeah, no, it's fine. So if we're not ready to vote, then let's not vote.
I would
But
like
let's
to-
be really clear about what information we need.
Exactly.
And
I'm okay with that.
I also want to make sure that we're on board with FinCom. So why didn't FinCom voted for this without the knowledge of the sewer hookup and the cost?
That's right.
So I think that's a problem,
Yeah. I-
personally, but that's just me.
How so? What do you mean?
I mean, so we're taking issue with understanding the full cost, right?
Right.
Why didn't FinCom have the same concern?
I agree.
That's
But
my
just because and it
Right, it
wasn't a
doesn't mean that,
unanimous
yeah.
vote. I think it was a
It was
7-5
5-7.
vote.
Yeah, it was, yep.
So
Since there's discussions tomorrow, and maybe even
Well-
after that.
no, wait.
It doesn't
wait,
matter,
wait,
because we're
wait,
not
wait,
ready
wait.
to take a vote today.
That's what I'm saying.
We've got a lot of people saying
Right.
they heard this person say
So-
that.
so it
and
doesn't
we've got
kind of-
Sven here, so let's, if we don't mind, I'd like Sven to tell us, from the PwC point of view, is there a conversation scheduled with, what's happening from your perspective?
Okay, Sven Weber, Public Works Commission.
Yeah.
I reached out to Julie on Friday. I haven't heard back, so that she's meeting with me
Interesting. Okay.
is news
All
to
right.
me. So we are scheduled to discuss whatever this school committee brings to Public Works on our next Public Works Commission meeting on April 14th.
Yeah, okay.
May
That-
14th.
Maybe that's what she was
May
alluding to.
14th,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
And whatever the design is, we look at the design That's important because you have to pump up the whole thing.
Yeah.
So there's a pump station, there's 467 linear feet of piping, and so it's more complex than just connecting to the sewer. So one thing is the engineering design. The other one is, do we as a town have the capacity? So we will have to do a capacity analysis, given is what is the current sewer capacity over the last 12 months. We know for at least 4 of the 12 months we were significantly over the capacity. And second, we know that the 40B project on Baker is getting also on sewer. So that adds to the current capacity stuff. So we plan to have a thorough review of the situation. In the end, if we get $200,000 in our sewer improvement fund, I take it. But that's not the motivation or the decision we have to do. The decision is the design appropriate to our engineering, and do we have the capacity to connect? So this is what we will have to discuss.
So Sven, that sounds like a, moderate amount of work. Do you have the engineering staff to get both of those things done before town meeting?
Well, as usual in Concord fashion, is these things are always coming up in last minute,
Right.
and then sucking up all the resources
Right.
For that period of time.
Right.
Yeah?
That's why I
So-
asked the question.
So that, and we indicated we in the interest of time and town meeting that we do the analysis. It's my knowledge that we received material last Friday, so that normally for Public Works Commission, any material must be ready by the Thursday before. That gives staff just Monday through this Thursday to review and provide guidance for the commission.
So
Thank
you're
you.
saying that the connection design and the capacity analysis are going to be ready by the time the Public Works Commission meets next week?
We have to see what is ready.
Yeah,
This is,
Okay.
we have 4 working days.
yep.
Okay,
And
thank you.
this is a debt exclusion article, isn't
It
it?
is.
Right.
So the FinCom did vote 7-5 with members making objections over, why isn't this CPC? What about the process
Right.
and
You
procedure?
brought up the same.
This is, we've been hearing that this is a need for 10 years, and yet we're on the eve of town meeting and we don't have a clear line of sight to what is even being asked for. I would imagine that if the answer was we don't have the sewer capacity, then the project can't get built. So,
It would be composted.
So there was some discussion at the public hearing, Sven, I hope you've, I don't know if you heard it or not. Someone did speak to feeling like there would be enough capacity, maybe because
Yeah,
people
but-
were already using the high school bathrooms, I don't know. So do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
But I still.
but they're
we need
also
to let
using
the-
porta potties.
Right, no, the Public Works needs to do their due diligence, but for tonight, we can't take a vote on
Yeah,
this,
I
and we're not
can't.
gonna
So,
until
I
I have one more
town meeting,
question.
right?
Is it the
Yeah.
Board of Health that determines the capacity needed for this, or is it?
Yeah, the Board of Health
The
is
Board of Health.
providing the capacity planning.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
okay.
Have you got that from them?
I don't know.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so
I
we
hope-
can't decide tonight, I agree with you.
Someone's engaging the Board of
Why
Health.
don't we
I think-
agree that we're going to make a recommendation at town meeting
Yes,
about
I think
this?
that's our vote.
Yes,
for
but I
tonight,
also
yeah.
think we need to, I would like to be clear on what the information we need for our discussion at town meeting. One of the outstanding things was CPC. Can we get CPC
Well,
money?
no.
No.
No, we
That's
asked
been
that last
clearly
week.
asked and answered, is that the next cycle for CPC is next year's town meeting.
No, but I asked a separate
She
question
asked a
to Ann
separate
Clifford
question.
that said, all right, let's take a scenario. Let's assume the amenities building was approved at town meeting in 2025. And 2 scenarios. One is they start construction. Can they then go to CPC and still ask for funding? The answer is, no, they're not eligible for that.
Right.
You can't do that.
That's
Do a
right.
retro-
So that was
Asked
the
that
answer.
last week, right?
Right, but I got it in writing. For the
Good,
record, with
okay.
reference, so that's not
But
an
the other
option.
thing they
But
can
if they,
do- they
if they
can
got
do-
the funding and they never started the construction.
Right.
That might, I don't think Ann answered that one clearly.
She
But
didn't
if-
answer
But
it.
I think what she said was, if you have the funding, then you still can't come back and ask. because it's been
If it's
approved.
already been approved.
If it's
that-
been approved, you can't go back.
Okay, I thought if it was, if it's started
If-
construction.
No, it's been
No, if it's been approved. If the
Right.
town approved 1.4 million, you can't
Right.
come back and say we'd like
Yeah,
300.
because it's supposed to be
Okay,
supplemental
so
funding.
CPC is not an issue. That's,
Right.
that's a.
It's not an
that-
open
okay.
issue.
Yeah, although unless
you wanna
the
net
answer
wait-
is just
exactly.
simply wait and go
Yes.
through that process,
Yes.
which is one more year, I know.
And more cost, which.
I do share your frustration, Mark, with, it would have been, I mean, a
It's-
clean proposal as to, this is what it costs.
Yeah.
These are the sources of our funding.
Right,
This
right.
is our timeline for construction. I think the school committee did a really good job of explaining the need, but we still don't have a clean plan in front of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is,
RTM.
Okay.
Do we need to vote
Move that
that?
we recommend.
yeah, I'd like to do that.
I move that the
think we already
select board provide its recommendation at town meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
But Mary, you
Yeah.
were making a
Article
list
13.
of what we need.
I was. Yeah.
And then we got sidetracked. So
Okay.
I think we need the,
We need a permit from the Public Works. We need a cost estimate. We need a source of funds.
and a capacity analysis from Board of Health.
Right.
Okay.
That goes ahead of the permit.
Well, we're not gonna
You're,
get the
you're not
cost.
going to review
We're
all
not gonna
those
do that.
things, right?
You're
You,
right.
you just want to know that they are attending.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think they know that. So we're good.
Okay, great.
Okay. I'm moving right down here. I'm going to Article 18 and 19, which are together, and I think we did make a vote that we would report
We
this
did.
at town meeting.
Yeah, but
Okay.
can I just ask a question? Are we going to have a presentation to follow up on the stabilization funds with FinCom? Weren't we going to
Yes.
do that?
We're going to talk about this next week.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. Is it next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
May 19th, okay?
And that's going to talk about why we need all these different funds, what's the
And the
difference
amount,
between
right.
this fund and that
Right,
fund.
right.
Okay, the meeting we're having on the May 19th with the FinCom will be their recommendations to us as far as a policy going forward, right? We're the policy-making body. They're going to give us their suggestions. That's going to be something that we do next year as far as setting a new policy. The other thing we're going to talk about with them is, why do we need these two funds? How much money in each fund?
Good.
And what we think about that,
Right, so
okay?
what's the difference between Fund A, Fund B,
Exactly,
Fund C? Great,
exactly. Okay,
great.
good. Next week,
Okay.
May 19th. Next one would be
Wait,
the.
May 12th or May 19th?
May 12th, thank you, May 12th. The 27th, Article 27, we've got ranked choice voting. Are we ready?
Article 28,
Article 28, thank you.
yes.
Yes.
Are we ready to,
So I think, I don't remember why we didn't vote on this. People wanted more time. I do know the League of Women Voters did have their presentation on Friday. It was great discussion.
I think
I don't-
Cameron, you
Yeah.
you wanted more information.
And did they opine on it, or did they?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of like the public hearing all over again with a lot more question and a little detail and explanation. And, I think the thing to remember is we voted this before, we passed it.
So are we ready to take a vote?
I
you-
think, Cameron, you were the one who wanted
You
more
were the one who
time.
wanted more time. You ready now? Okay.
So
I make, oh, go ahead. You can make.
move that the select board recommend town meeting take affirmative action on Article 28.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. We got one down. The next one that I show we delayed was Article 32.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know why we delayed that. or-
Is there some discussion going
I
on
think
with
that the
us?
project wasn't clear,
Ben wants to answer.
wasn't clearly ready yet.
Sven?
Sven, you want to answer that for us? Give us some.
Yeah, Sven Weber again for Public Works.
Uh-huh.
So we will have that also on our next Public Works
Okay.
Commission meeting. At the moment, the indications are quite high that this is getting pulled.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do
Wait.
RTM.
They're high that it's getting cold?
So that we are
Getting pulled.
we
Pulling
will
it.
Pulling it.
pull it
Got
out
it.
of the.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So this is a report at town meeting,
Yeah.
thinking that it might not go. Thank you, Sven.
Yep.
Do I have a motion to report at town meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. MCI planning.
Okay, so I presented this at the FinCom hearing on May 1st.
Yep.
The FinCom voted to support it 13 to 1. It is a select board sponsored article, so And the rationale is that we need to provide funds to maintain the momentum and continue to plan for the future of MCI Concord. The advisory board had approached our legislators asking for two things, both an additional earmark in the same amount as this article, $250,000, and also the previously appropriated commitment treatment for any remaining funds for out of the 725 that was provided in FY25, of which it's anticipated that there's only going to be 40,000 left, which was basically the bid contingency on the planning consultant contract. So we'd like to have access to that, but the simple answer was there's an unprecedented number of requests for funding in FY26. Our chances are virtually non-existent of getting any new monies. So if we want the planning process to have any resources at all in FY26, we need to support this article. It really does. It ensures that there's some resources available. The other thing that it does, is it places us in firm control of the timeline and the disbursement.
Yeah.
This process has been already, let's call it, I want to use the word warped for some reason, but it's certainly been
Good word. Interesting.
adjusted. Yeah, because of the need because of the delays in receiving the funding from the state earmarks, and then the need to consume,
Yes.
use those funds by June 30th have distorted. That was the word I really wanted to use.
Right.
The lens through which we're looking at this, and we would have no such problem if we appropriated our own funds to be, and recognizing that the motion will read under the direction of the town manager, dispersed under the direction of the town manager, if, as and when we as a town decide that it's appropriate to spend some of these funds, and only if, as and when we decide.
The advantage, though, of the state money is it wasn't property tax.
Yes, it was.
Right.
It was free money.
Let's not forget
We've
that.
gotten a lot of free
But
money.
we're not gonna get any,
and we've
so
gotten a
this
lot of
is-
mileage for that
Yeah.
free
Yeah,
money.
right.
So I think we've overachieved in terms of finding a way to actually use this in productive ways for it. But I think at this time, it also is, except for the ARPA allocations, the first town money that's been committed to this process. We didn't have anything on last year's warrant.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
Sorry, remind me, was there other enterprise fund or some other or was that just for the sewer, for looking at the wastewater?
So yes, the sewer
different.
I thought
improvement.
there was some other money we had talked about that maybe could be used.
Yeah, the sewer improvement fund could be used for example, planning the interconnect between the existing wastewater treatment facility and sewer system and this system, which hasn't really been planned yet. The monies that have been spent on the wastewater treatment facility thus far, coming from the state earmark, have really been about evaluating its capacity, its condition, its operating state, what it's going to cost. So it's been really focused on that facility and getting a thorough understanding of that, because we're entering into a negotiation with the state over the purchase of that. So it's great that we've been able to come to understand that plant based on the state's money, it's rather than our own. So it would be further, and that's helped us preserve some of our sewer improvement funds.
Right. But we can't use any of that money.
Not for general planning purposes, like for
Yeah.
a traffic study or assessment of some other building other than the wastewater treatment facility. So
Mary,
Yeah.
there is a question here.
Yeah.
If we could have it, please.
Diane, oh, I don't know who's.
Are we ready?
Diane's
Did you
out.
get your,
I'm
did
just-
did you have an
I was-
answer?
Again, I was just
Okay.
exploring any
Great.
other
Yeah.
avenues of funds that we
Okay.
can use
Mhm.
without having to go get more new money.
Good, okay. So Diane, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Diane Proctor, 57 Sudbury Road in Concord. One of the problems, Mark, is that the way the warrant article is written, I believe, is that it focuses really on the wastewater treatment plant. But so much of the very compelling arguments that you've been giving is for the use of the MCI committee for other things besides the wastewater plant. And so, how do you how do you
Well-
manage that, negotiate that in terms of how the warrant article is written?
The warrant article says the wastewater treatment facility and lists other uses. We didn't want to exclude from the range of possibilities that some of these funds could be spent on the wastewater treatment facility, but that's not what we would lead with.
But it also says, or for general planning purposes
Planning
associated with
purposes, so
MCI
it's just
Concord.
or
Yeah.
for general planning purposes.
Yeah, it
So
probably should have said
my
general
only
planning purposes.
gentle recommendation is when you present this, make
Yeah.
certain you emphasize the second part of that,
Yeah.
clause.
Okay.
So that so that there's not confusion.
Thank you
Because
for
by and
that.
large, I think it's been perceived as really for the wastewater treatment plant, which is obviously important as well, so thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Diane.
Move that the select board recommend affirmative action on Article 33 MCI planning.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, good, 500. Stormwater.
I would like to wait until the Public Works hearing when we hear all the detail that, I was at the FinCom meeting and there's still a lot more detail that,
No, not on
You know,
this.
to be honest, I will tell you, there is a ton of detail on the website, and that was reviewed at the public hearing. What's going to happen, Sven will correct me, is the rates are going to get reviewed and approved at the
Right.
next meeting. But all that information has been available all along.
And this isn't,
Right.
this isn't,
This is,
This
this
is the
article
budget.
isn't to approve the rates.
right,
This is
it's to
simply to
approve-
fill up the budget.
Is
to authorize the expenditures.
Right.
That's really what
The
this is.
Finance
right.
Committee voted 11-3 to support this article.
Oh, it was 11-3, I
recommended
didn't know what that final vote was.
okay, well, I mean, I do support it, but I guess the problem I had with the presentation, it was a lot of history of stuff we already knew. And then when we got to the part about, I'm trying to remember what those slides were now, but the part that's going to make a difference to the homeowner, like how many impervious square feet you have and all that. I mean, I think we need a lot more explanation about that now. It might be on the website, and I didn't look at that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are going to show up at the town meeting and say, well, what are you talking about? So I'm hoping at the Public Works meeting, they're really going to go over that.
Yeah, you want to address that?
I'm assuming, yeah.
My seat today.
Yes.
So, as pointed out, there is a significant amount of information on the webpage. This is a process that now goes for 18 months. We had several public meetings at the Public Works Commission.
Right.
For sure, again, for some people will come as a surprise. We reworked the slides based on your feedback, Terry.
Okay.
But we will also remind people about, say, what was decided last year. So
That's fine.
that is clear. But also to the point is on the next Public Works Commission meeting, we are only deciding the fee schedule. That's the only thing. There will be not any other information than the final approval of the fee schedule. And the authorization for this article is then whatever the fee generates, and we estimate that if it's a full year of fees, it would be around $1 million, that the town can draw against that for expenditures. So that is the approval here. And I know it's complex. It's in a certain way nothing different that we do with any enterprise fund. The only difference is we are doing it the first time this time. And people start thinking, okay, how does it work? For all other enterprise funds, it's the same. They're funded by the
Right.
fees, and town meeting authorizes to take the money from the fees for expenditures.
Yeah, that's a good point. It really is like any of
Right,
the
I
other.
understand all of that part. I guess I'll talk to you offline, Sven. There's different rates for commercial than there are.
That's the rate schedule, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you used the example, I think, of $118 for a typical single-family home, and I just didn't really follow. I understand about enterprise funds, I support it, but there was some specifics that.
Come to the rate hearing.
Yes, exactly.
Actually, and read the material, because actually, the content in there does, it does speak to sort of how's it going to be measured, it's roofs, it's impervious, and there's
Okay.
credits and all that stuff.
All right,
There's a
all
whole
right.
report, I don't know, Sven, what it's called, but it's a great report. It's
And
lengthy.
that-
But
Okay.
this warrant, but this isn't gonna, this warrant article doesn't address.
This
Well, that-
basic-
it's
this
all
warrant
the
article
content
is
behind that
just like
article.
the rest of
Right, yeah.
the enterprise funds, authorizing the entity to spend what they take in from the fees, whatever they might be.
Right, I
The
get the
place to discuss what the fees should be is at the fee hearing.
Yeah,
at the- And I think it makes a lot of sense for us to understand that the decision to create a stormwater utility was last year.
Right.
Right.
That's done and
This is-
dusted.
Yeah.
This is pretty administrative, and
You know, though, I think Terry makes a good
Still
point,
true.
which is, to the person sitting in the hall,
yeah.
they're going to be thinking, well, yeah, we did it last year, but
What
this
did it
year it's
cost
really
me?
hitting
What's
my
it cost me?
pocketbook.
We didn't know what it was going to
What's
be.
it
last
gonna
So what's it
cost me?
costing me?
Right.
That needs to be
Right.
way clearer. I guess that's what I'm saying.
It's going to come up, even
It's
though,
gonna come
even
up.
I was
though,
gonna say, so
even
what-
though we
Yeah.
could say, oh, but we don't
But-
talk about what water's going to
But I
cost you
think
when we do the water.
we understand what
new.
this
Well, we
article
do.
is really about,
Yeah.
and
We
we should vote based on what the article is actually about, not
So maybe, yeah, that's what,
the perspective of someone.
Carmen's got her hand up.
Yes.
Carmen, do you want to make a comment?
Thank you so much, Mary. I just want to note that this article really is about the budget. It's
Right.
town meeting considering the reasonableness of the budget that Public Works is putting forward for the stormwater enterprise fund. And I will note that my understanding from Alan Cathcart, and this didn't come up at the hearing, but it will at town meeting and in the briefing book, that the number put forward actually represents a much smaller number than what Alan would really like to have in order to bring things up to snuff. He has put forward the absolute minimum
Okay.
in his view of what's necessary in order to maintain our existing stormwater system, as well as to do an assessment to figure out, all this stuff is underground, so you don't really know exactly what's going on down there. So there's money in there to make an assessment so you can figure out what's about to kick you in the butt so that you can be ahead of it. So that's the real question for town meeting is this a reasonable amount of money to be spending on stormwater?
Good.
And then the fee system is all subject to a public process that has been undertaken separately.
Thank you. Thank you, that helps. I'm ready for a motion.
Move that the select board recommend town meeting take affirmative action on the stormwater utility article.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good. The next article, which is the Protect the Orchard House. Sven, do you have an update as far as whether you think this is going to be resolved outside of town meeting?
The seat is still warm here.
Yes, yes.
There was a discussion between the Orchid House and DPW.
Yep.
It's our impression that they will withdraw this
Okay,
because it's a little bit, 5 steps ahead of where we are. We are just getting, hopefully, the budget for stormwater,
right,
and that enables DPW to
okay.
prioritize the project. So my understanding is that is the direction it goes. We haven't heard if they actually did it. Perhaps Carmen knows it, but we expect them to withdraw this.
Okay, Carmen, have you heard whether this is, do you have any information about whether this will be withdrawn?
I have not, unless Shannon has heard anything directly from the article sponsor about the intention to move this article. My current understanding is that we'll put a motion under this article in the briefing book unless we hear before the briefing book goes to the printer that there is an intention not to move it.
Okay. So I think.
Petitioner didn't come to the League of Women Voters
Yeah.
presentation either, so maybe we just list RTM, right?
I
And
agree.
then let
Right,
it
we already
be
decided
withdrawn.
last time to put RTM on this.
No, I don't think we
RTM or-
did we?
We did? No, no, we did.
That's what, I wrote that down, I don't know. And the next one, too.
No, the next one, well, let's get to that.
Yeah, we deferred Orchard House, and so we had, and we also deferred the Escars one
Right.
to tonight.
To tonight.
And
So I'm gonna move that the select board make its recommendation at town meeting for Article 35.
Good.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good. Okay, now, Article 36, the anticoagulant rodenticides.
so my notes were, Terry, you wanted to hear back from the Ag Committee on this.
I did.
I
Yeah.
did, I
Oh,
did.
Well, you said it, you weren't here, but, yeah, so,
Okay. What did the?
I didn't follow up the Ag Committee
Is,
stuff. necessarily.
is Megan here? Great. Megan, you want to come up to
Oh,
the
sorry.
microphone, please?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
I think when we had the public hearing in the other room
Yes.
over there, it was a very good discussion, and I think we asked for two things.
Yes.
One was, did you talk with businesses as far as what are alternatives they have when this, if this passes? And also, had you talked with the Ag Committee? So do you have any updates on that?
We've reached out to the Ag Committee a couple of times. The second time that we reached out, we asked if they had any questions. They said they didn't at that point. We haven't heard back since, but in the meantime, so right now, as I speak, Gwen is actually doing a Zoom. We didn't realize these two things were corresponding. But we emailed every single farm in Concord. We also emailed the Ag Committee separate from that.
Okay.
We emailed the Chamber of Commerce, the businesses there. We emailed Melanie Deenan at the Health Department, and she sent things out to the food businesses on behalf of us with the Zoom link. And also, not just for them to be invited to the Zoom link, but also to, we welcome any questions they might have in addition to that. And we're also going to put up a video of that on the website that we have, and we'll send out that information as
Okay.
well. So we've been really trying to, reach out to people as much as we possibly can about this. And in addition to that, we have a lot of information on the website about, the integrated pest management plans and those sorts of things, and are very open to having these types of discussions with anybody who wants to have them with us.
So you haven't gotten feedback from the Ag Committee?
We have not.
The Ag Community
We-
or the Ag Committee?
No, we have not. We've put it out there.
Okay.
We just haven't heard anything one way or another.
Okay. How do people feel?
Yeah, well, just, first of all, the warrant article is to petition the state
Correct.
for an outright ban. in the
Correct.
Town of Concord, okay. And do we use it today on town-owned properties?
No.
We
Is-
don't.
Is that a rule, or is that just
It's not.
an unwritten rule?
It's an unwritten rule, and it's interesting because some towns are able to petition the select board of their town, and then the select board or whatever governing body kind of says, all right, we will do a municipal ban
Right.
on these properties. Apparently, it seems that that's just not the way it works in Concord, from what we understand. I don't know. We reached out to the select board initially. That was sort of our first step, like a few months ago, and we were told that the select.
us.
I know. We were told that you.
Just saying.
Didn't have. Sorry. We were told that you didn't have. I don't know if it's jurisdiction, but that it was the Department of Health's purview to make that. The Department of Public Works to make that ultimate decision. That's what
NRC?
That's
No.
what we were. That's what we were told. That's what we were told.
Okay.
So
By us?
yes, by you.
Okay.
I can
so
forward
there
the
is
email
no-
if you want to see it.
Are you getting your answer?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of, right? Because, I tried to do a little bit of research on
Sure.
this. I did see Wayland and Newburyport as two towns who voted to say, we, the select board, do not want ESCAR on town-owned property.
Correct.
So it's specifically geared towards that.
Correct.
I've talked to people, I think there's maybe some concern from like the restaurant community and things like that around this. I did look at Rhode Island, which introduced a couple of bills recently to want to ban it, and they actually deferred it. They didn't vote on it this year, is my understanding, to seek more data, try to get more information on it. And I do know that the EPA did ban the sale of it to consumers,
Yeah.
right? So
True.
that isn't so much
Yeah,
of a concern.
yeah.
So I guess my overall concern on this is it's a very far-reaching, like, hey, let's ban it everywhere, including restaurants. We even went and talked to a contractor and said, like, hey, where do you use it? How do you use it? All those things. And so for me, like, I just don't see a lot of hard data on this issue. And so I am personally reluctant to support the overarching, like, let's just ban it everywhere in town, because, I just want to be sort of fact-based and data-driven, and I'm not seeing kind of the full sort of science behind all that.
Have we outreached directly to the chamber?
We sent out an email in terms of just like welcoming them to come to our Zoom.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard a ton of feedback about that either yet. But I will say that in terms, I definitely understand sort of where those concerns are coming from. But SCARs are not the only way that people can manage their way out of a pest problem. So we're not saying like you need to live with mice and rats in your business and this is the way it's going to be. So we're hoping that people will use some of those other alternatives, knowing that these poisons do work their way up the food chain, that we are seeing, and we put some data in our presentation that we had, but we didn't sort of present it this way, but like every year they're sort of finding that, when they're doing these necropsies on these animals that they're finding, that every year, it was, 82% of bald eagles had SCARs in their system, and ultimately, in 2020, 100% of red-tailed hawks had these in their system. So this is a problem that is working their way into the food chain, and it is affecting our animals, and it's affecting our pets. And we're not asking people not to deal with rodent problems. We're asking them to look at other ways, which could involve integrated pest management. Vitamin D3 is another poison that people can use. People can use carbon monoxide and dioxide to gas burrows. For instance, Drumlin Farm, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, they do not use any SCARs. They have animals, they have crops. They are using pest management there, but they are using different methods to manage the problem.
It might be benefit to get real feedback from some of the restaurant owners in town.
Sure.
And ask for their feedback. Say that we'd like your feedback, because when you present at town meeting, if you can say we've outreached to the restaurants and RADx is a good alternative and they're willing to try it, that's good.
So
That's
I
great.
think this Wednesday on economic vitality, they wanted to have it one of their discussion items.
Oh, was it?
Wednesday morning, I think they're.
Is that the invite we just got?
I've got a question for you. If this passes, right, then it's a home rule petition,
Right.
right?
It's not
So
gonna
then
change
if the legislature gets through all the committees and they say yes, it comes back to us?
It comes back. It actually comes back to town meeting.
It does.
Yeah.
It comes
Yeah.
back to town meeting. By us, I mean the town, right?
Yeah.
And does it have to come back exactly as we wrote it down? So we can do any kind of modification at that point?
Absolutely.
That's an important thing to remember.
And we also, I meant to mention, there's also a provision as it's written right now, which it could be changed, that if there is a public health emergency, SCARs can be used. Like if everything else has been used and simply nothing is working, that would be an option. So it's not entirely off the table. It's one of these situations where, use all these other methods that are available, and there are many. And then if that just doesn't work, then we have this final tool that we can use. And that would be used in a more managed way than SCARs are currently being used, which is to say they're just being thrown in boxes. And there's a lot of data that sort of says SCARs, if they're going to be used, should be used for a limited amount of time and then sort of move to another method.
Okay.
But people are kind of using them as just the go-to because it's a product that has worked in some ways and not
Okay,
in
I see
others.
Heather's got her hand up. Heather, do you have something to say quickly?
Sure. So again, Heather Packard, I work for Mass Audubon on this.
We
campaign.
can't,
I
can
live
you
in
speak up?
Concord 38.
Heather, we
Can
can't
you hear me?
Sorry.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry. So my name's Heather Packard. I work for Mass Audubon. I live in Concord at 38 Black Duck Road, and I'm working as an employee at Mass Audubon managing this campaign. And I know you were asking about numbers, and so I could give you a link to this information, but just to run through a few numbers for you for data. So, and Megan mentioned a few, but 100% of red-tailed hawks tested positive at Tufts Veterinary Clinic. These were in Massachusetts. Hundreds of animals every year are treated at the New England Wildlife Clinic, one clinic, and they estimate less than 5% of the wildlife that actually are poisoned or even coming in. So that represents thousands if they see hundreds at a single clinic in the state. 82% of bald eagles were exposed to rodenticides that were tested, over 300 bald eagles in a national study. 98% of fishers were tested, that were tested by a research study in New Hampshire, all across New England. It were showing exposure to rodenticides. Pets also are being impacted. A single clinic, MSPCA's veterinary clinic in Massachusetts, treats dozens of dogs and cats every year for it. And the state reports that in the 2-year period of between 2021 and 2023, over 200 people were exposed to eschars in Massachusetts, and almost half of those were under 6. So there is data, and I can send you a link to this as well.
Okay, thank you. So I think we've given you some ideas for town meeting, but I think I'm ready for a motion from the select board as far as our recommendation. Do we have a motion?
Are we ready to take a motion? Everyone ready to
Or
vote?
do we want to talk more about it? I'm ready to,
I mean, for me, I just don't have the data to support this.
okay, so you'll be a no.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I get the concept of wanting to protect things. The fact that things have been exposed to it isn't really hard data on sort of causation.
That's
So-
fine, but I still would like a motion.
Okay.
Well, since there's a Zoom going on right now with the whole ag community and
No, we're not sure they're there.
Yeah, they were invited, but
We're not sure.
don't know.
There's a Zoom, it's a general information
Yeah.
Zoom.
Right,
Who showed
okay.
up, we don't know. So are we ready to make a motion? I'm ready.
I'm
I'm
ready.
sensing some reluctance, but
Well, I'll make a motion to vote affirmative action on Article 36, the citizen petition for eschars against
Do we have a
banning
second?
eschars.
second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
I'm going to abstain. I want to see what the ag people say back.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, good. So that's 5,
1-0.
3-1-1.
3-1-1, yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
You're zeroing me out.
I know, no.
Good.
Okay.
I'm moving down to Article 45, the PRD from the planning board, or this is Concord Housing Foundation? No.
Yes, actually, it was Matt.
Oh, this is the
Matt was
thing about
presenting
the
it.
bonuses
So,
and all
yeah,
that.
and I know, Terry, what?
We have the list. I just don't have,
Yeah,
I don't have the list.
Oh,
Maybe you
Which-
can ask me to pull up slides for this one.
Well, I was going to ask, I just want to clarify, Terry, you were the one who had the most confusion on this, and it would helpful. Yeah, so, so Shannon has the presentation, so I outreached to Matt after the meeting. He gave me the presentation. He's going to have a town meeting. I want to bring up a particular slide, and I want to just try to talk to it without going through the whole presentation, okay? So if you can bring up slide, if I can find it. I had it, slide 5. And we might reference 6 as well. So this is part of the presentation that Matt already presented, but I wanted to, okay. All right, so looking at the slide, please don't look at the 1, 3, 5 and the 2, 4, 6 on the side, okay? So please
Okay.
don't get sidetracked. So I just want to sort of step back and say, so we have this is an existing PRD bonus density criteria. It exists today. And what we're trying to do is, what Matt's trying to do is modify it slightly.
Right.
What he's ultimately doing is removing criteria that's based on the income criteria that's based on 80% of the median income. So let me just read this. So what this.
I was just, sorry, before you.
I was going to try to restate what the whole goal was first,
Okay,
yeah.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I just wanted to understand, is
Yeah.
this a town, is it a state?
This is an existing town
That's all.
of
I wasn't
Concord
trying to-
zoning
Town zoning
bylaw. And within our PRD, this planned residential community, we have a particular criterion for a density bonus. So if a developer wants to build a more dense development,
Yep.
e.g. more housing, they're allowed to do it if certain criteria is met. And so what happens in this bonus is we say, if you provide X number of units to individuals who are of a certain income level, we'll grant you that extra density bonus. So let me just explain what.
And the problem is we're not getting any takers.
So, yeah, so what's
Exactly.
happening is the assumption is that some of the criteria are so stringent, developers don't want to do this. So what we're trying to do is loosen some of it and see if it produces more housing, is really what we're doing. So let me just start with current, and I'm just going to caution you, the word affordable's in here, okay? So, and a lot of people have connotations about that. So, but under this chart, you see under current, so what happens today is we will allow, if 10% of the units are made available at these lower income levels, they'll get the density bonus. But there's a couple components to what is that available income. So the first is, if there's a level of housing unit, if it's available for individuals with a maximum income of 80% of the median income, we refer to that as low income, okay? And then in the current zoning, we also use the term affordable dwelling units, okay? But under affordable dwelling units, there's actually two types. There's what they refer to as starter home, and then a second that's called moderate. Both of those together are referred to in the zoning today as affordable, okay? So today, I'm going to use an example. Let's say we have a development of 10 units, and 10% of 10 units is one, right? So under this bylaw, at least one unit would have to have a lower income criteria. When there's only one unit today that's available, it has to meet that 80% AMI criteria. So what's happening in the new proposed change is that rather than saying the income criteria is 80% of AMI, we're going to raise it a little bit and say that it has to be a max of 110% of AMI. So it's not quite as stringent.
Which
Okay,
is it,
so
110 or 150?
no, it's 110. Remember, this is a scenario, if there's just one housing unit,
Okay.
it has to be that 110.
Got it. Okay.
Okay,
I'm
now,
with you.
let's say the housing unit there's 20 units. The zoning law says that in that scenario, 50% of those qualifying units have to be that, that's changing, 50% have to be in that that more stringent criteria. So in the case of development of 20, then one of them would have to be at that starter price housing, and one would ultimately be under this moderate price housing. That's the change. So there's a criteria, if it's just one house, it has to be that more stringent income level. When it's more than one, it has to be 50-50. 50% have to be at that lower income limit. Today, it would be what they call lower income, and that other second unit today could be affordable dwelling unit, which could be either one of the starter price or housing in today's rule, because that's between 110 and 150. So tomorrow, what we're really doing is sort of eliminating that criterion at 80% AMI, okay? So we're loosening it up. So again, that's the goal of trying to give developers a little more financial advantage in building PRDs.
We'll get some done, hopefully.
Hopefully, and that's the goal. And we'll see. We'll see if
we'll
it
see.
happens. There haven't been a lot of
So it's the
PRDs.
same program as before, but it's raising the income limits that the housing is designed for from 80 to 110 and from 110 to 150.
80% is much more subsidization of the housing, so the developer would have to pick
the
up much more of that
developer-
cost of housing.
Well, this is, if your goal is, I want to build more highly dense, affordable housing,
But, yeah, that's why I'm,
way of doing that.
yes, this is one of our incentives to developers to do that.
So-
And for us, the town, to get some
So in
units that are
addition to,
available.
like, for instance, if us to step back, in addition to the two extremely large new developments that we have going in.
Different issue, but yes.
100
Yep.
plus units.
Yep.
We want more highly dense, even more dense, twice as dense, affordable housing to go in, if that's our goal.
Well, that's
then
the
this is something that
trade-off.
Helps us achieve this.
It's,
Well, no,
so the strategy
whole
is.
thing won't be affordable, it's just a
Right.
portion will be
Right.
affordable.
It's a strategy to
not-
incent developers to provide some housing that's affordable.
But
That's
yeah.
the
I
idea.
guess I'm asking,
With-
what,
Yeah.
we seem to be doing better.
Well,
than
let's, no, we're actually,
affordable housing, because we've got massive new affordable housing.
no, but
It's
I just,
happening
we,
to us, and we're not,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah,
not in
we-
the driver's seat.
The reason that,
That
Well-
housing is happening to us.
yeah, those were both
Right.
40B
This is
projects,
a way
which is the
for
result
us
of
to-
not,
Now that they've happened to us, we're in
Yeah.
a place.
well,
where
but we're not, but I think I just want to caution you, one of them, the Novo, we had 16% affordable, but the Novo project did not pull their building permit, so all those units come off the SHI. We're now at 13.2%,
Right,
so
and
we just
only because-
lost
Yes,
a
we're at
big chunk
13
of
and only
affordable
because the
housing.
residences at Thoreau was now at the stage that Nova was last year.
Right,
So
right.
if they, for some
Okay, but-
reason, didn't pull their housing permit, we would,
We'd be back to
we would be
just
right
10.
back. So,
But
So, but let me just,
that's
let's
a
go back to
temporary-
this.
That's just
We're
a
getting into a
temporary.
Yeah, we're on a
housing issue.
tangent.
No, I'm
Right,
all
yeah.
for the
But
19th.
So-
if we look at this, which is already on the books, which is
Yeah.
one way that we try to get denser housing as opposed to single-family, single-family housing zoning.
Yeah.
So, and one of the ways we wanted to enable that and also have some affordable was the zoning bylaw, but it's not working because nobody's building them.
Right.
So now this is where
this
we're
is-
trying to make this economically feasible and see if people will actually build it.
We have two hands raised.
Yes, we do. Carmen, do you want to say something? Please.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Mary. I just, in case it's useful, I just wanted to make a note of the quantum of vote that will be required to pass this article.
Good idea.
You may remember that there were amendments to Chapter 40 in the last couple of years by the state legislature, which in certain circumstances where there is created an increase in the as-of-right ability to construct affordable housing by a zoning bylaw, that zoning bylaw amendment would be subject to a majority vote as opposed to a two-thirds.
Yes.
And I have consulted town council as well as our director of planning, and it is the considered view of both of them that this is a two-thirds vote, because it does not create an as-of-right situation that generates more affordable housing as that is defined. And I will say that I'm not sure that Matt Johnson necessarily agrees with that analysis, and we will, if we're using electronic voting, we will have a precise vote count, and we will be able to, I will be able to declare the vote both ways, and then the Attorney General can decide. But in case it's helpful to your discussion to know what the quantum of vote is, I thought I would let you know that.
Thanks, Carmen.
Thank you,
That's actually
Carmen.
helpful. I should also note that Matt was unable to come and join us tonight, so
he
just to
would've-
clarify that.
You did a good job explaining.
So you have
I
more,
know.
did you have another slide that you wanted to
There
show?
is one more slide. You can show slide 6. It's the language, and it's just really simple. It just, you'll see, we crossed out one reference and inserted the other. So it's really, we're crossing out that 80% AMI and including,
I think
Yeah,
maybe
that's
it's
not
not.
the right
oh, that's not
slide.
the one. No, go back to the language. Oh, maybe it's 8, sorry. 8,
Yeah.
that one.
There you go.
It's a very simple change in the actual zoning itself. And you see what's being struck there is the reference to the definition of where we define low-income housing, or
Okay,
that
great.
80% AMI.
We have one more comment. Diane, do you have a comment you'd like to make now?
I'm so sorry. I should have lowered my hand, Mary. My fault.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Okay,
So my intent was just to clarify
Yeah,
the intent.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
that helps.
Thank
If
you.
you're ready to take a vote, you can do that.
are we ready?
So move that the select board recommend town meeting take affirmative action on Article 45.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nay.
Okay. 410.
That was a no, so that, you said no?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
Yep. Okay, the next one, this is Deaconess. We are having Deaconess come and talk to us next week. So
Yeah, I
this
think
is
we already agreed that we were going to do this. at town
RTM.
meeting.
Yeah, we voted
it's
RTM. yeah.
great.
Right.
And then the next one, these are a bunch of,
Can I make a suggestion?
yes,
Because
please do.
Omnibus.
Observing
I think you gotta get,
the Finance Committee meeting, they took a bulk motion to recommend affirmative action on Articles 48 through 57 inclusive. So they had just heard all of these. These were the revolving fund expenditures, the light plant expenditures, solid waste system, sewer system expenditures, sewer improvement fund expenditures,
yes. we
water
can read
system
them. Yep.
expenditures, authorize the
Like the
PEG access cable-related fund, which is also the Minuteman Media Network expenditures, the Beatty Swim and Fitness Center enterprise funds, to appropriate the balance of the parking meter fund, which goes back to the general fund and supports free cash, and unpaid bills, of which there were $1,000
Oh,
worth
yeah,
or
that's
something
right,
like
yeah.
that. So, in the interest of time,
Yes.
I would
they
love that.
felt
Yeah.
if
Go
one
ahead.
would be interested in a motion that we recommend affirmative action on Articles 48 through 57 inclusive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good.
And no motion is expected on Article 58, the
Right.
debt rescission.
Great, very good. Okay, the next piece of work in front of us is to go through these articles and to recommend those that should go on the consent calendar. I had taken the liberty of highlighting in blue the number, which I just see right now. I've
These-
got 3 number 1s. That's wrong.
Yeah, no, I know. And some of these didn't align with Carmen's attachment.
Right, some of them
Really?
don't
So,
match.
yeah,
And
so-
I sent that list to Shannon today.
I can read them out too, because I
I
haven't.
think
Tell me.
32 is one of them.
Well, 5 was on Carmen's list, not yours.
I didn't see Carmen's list.
Well, it's in the attachment. I don't know, is that?
Right here.
I assume it's
Where's Carmen's
Here it
list?
is.
in the
Is
package.
In the package.
Carmen's list is on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so Carmen, are we in sync? I didn't see that, I'm sorry.
No,
I don't know, I haven't seen your list, Mary.
So can I tell you, I know it's different.
Let's start with yours, Carmen, go ahead.
Okay.
Right, so traditionally, the way the consent calendar has worked is that the moderator proposes articles to be taken up by the meeting for summary disposition, basically without deliberation. And in general, those articles include articles which are routine, of a housekeeping or administrative matter, or otherwise demonstrated to be of to be broadly supported by the community. And so everything that's on this list, in my view, meets that those requirements. I will also say that it is a recommendation of the Town Meeting Study Committee that the moderator make more robust use of the consent calendar in order to focus the time that town meeting spends on the matters that town meeting is more interested in deliberating on, so that the meeting may be more efficient and shorter, and that may encourage more people to participate. So this is my list of having. I always wait until the conclusion of all 5 of the public hearings to draw up this list, and then I come and seek the input of the select board. I don't need your vote. I just need your considered opinions and your consensus. And in the past, there have been articles I have removed and articles I have added as the result of input from the select board.
Okay.
So here it is.
Very good, very good. So I think the best thing to do might be to look at what I've put together and see if there's anything we would add to your list. And I think I would start with Article 16.
Well, wait a second, can we start at the top? Like, so, you had, for example, Article 5, Carmen had Article 5, but you did not.
Oh, you're right.
She had Article
then you
4
had
and
6 and
5,
she
which
did
are
not.
both the
Wait, let's settle
Personnel
on
Board.
5. Let's do.
Yeah,
one at
let's,
a
can we
time.
start at the
Okay,
top and just
that's
go
fine.
through
Sure, go
and
ahead.
identify
Yep,
some
go ahead.
conflicts?
Yeah, her
So
list-
5, she has 5, we don't. So do we want to put 5 on there?
Yes.
Yes.
Great,
Yes,
okay, so
I
5
think we
is,
can also do Article 4.
Yeah, 4's, yeah, yeah. So I agree
well,
with,
that's on her list,
That's-
right?
yeah, I
So
thought
we're
she had
agreeing
4.
with
she
her
had
5.
2, 3, 4, yeah.
Yeah,
5.
2, 3, 4, 5,
Yep.
right.
And then, Mary, you had 6, but Carmen did not. That's
Well,
a budget
there's
line.
no
Well,
motion. There's no
There's no
motion.
motion anticipated
Oh,
on
yeah,
our
okay.
Motion on
Joey.
6.
All right,
Okay,
no,
so
no,
now
yeah.
she had 14, so did I. She has 15, so did I. I have 16.
And she did not.
You don't.
Right.
So this is something to authorize the,
School committee, they're,
I think I do have Article 16.
did you
Do I
have
not?
16?
Oh, I meant to have Article 16.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so we agree.
We
Yes,
agree.
we will add
We
Article
agree.
16.
we agree. So it's on the,
16.
so you're going to put that on yours, right?
Yep.
Good.
Okay.
Then
Now,
Then-
Mary, you had, oh,
I
sorry.
have 20, you have
20.
20. I have 21, you have 21. I have 22.
Yeah, and that one had a lot of discussion at the finance committee.
Yeah, I
stipends.
am not comfortable putting that on the
Okay,
I'm not
consent
either.
calendar.
okay.
I
not-
agree.
Okay,
Yep.
good. I have 23, which is to the HEROES Act on the consent agenda. You don't?
It's new.
I don't
not routine.
because I think that in the end, that comes back as an impact to taxpayers. And I think that in the first instance, when we're adopting this for the first time, that taxpayers are entitled to see this article and decide what they think up it.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Other people
And there's
okay
a
with
lot of
that?
awareness to veterans' benefits.
It
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
it really,
yeah.
it's more just good news. It's a good, it's a good news thing, right?
Plus, it's an opportunity to publicize it.
Yeah.
It's good news.
Yeah.
Okay, Article 26, we both
Now, wait,
agree.
Yeah, because Carmen has 24 on the list.
Right.
Oh,
Transfer.
Remind me, what are we transferring from the?
We
So
have a stabilization.
Money to
That's the
reduce-
million. Yep.
Yeah, that's
1 million?
money to
Yep.
reduce the debt burden for the new middle school.
so Carmen has it and we
And
don't.
you did not.
I did not.
Yep.
I don't have a strong feeling.
I think it should
I think
be
it's
on-
fine.
Yeah.
On
I
the
mean, if we
consent-
want to really move town meeting along, and
Okay.
you know what? I
Okay.
think,
People can take it off if they
yeah,
want.
that's right.
Exactly.
right?
Okay, so Carmen, we're going to keep it on there.
Yeah.
Right. That is an important thing to remember, that any 10 voters, we don't need a majority vote, it's just 10 voters who say they want to hold something.
Right.
And then we pull anything they want off this consent calendar. We have a complete presentation and a complete deliberation on it.
Good,
Right.
you're right.
26.
Okay,
Looks good.
26 we both have, so that's good. 30 we both have, 31 we both have. And I put-
32 you don't. You
I-
have, but I don't, Carmen does not.
Yeah, it's likely to get withdrawn.
Well, I did not put 32 on there because it's unclear whether it's going to be moved. So
That's
I don't
right.
want to
Yeah.
put something that may not be moved on the consent
Yeah,
calendar.
that'll
That's right.
just be confusing.
I think there's enough controversy anyway. I think hopefully it'll get worked out.
Yeah.
But I don't
Yeah.
think it should be on the consent calendar.
Okay, that sounds good. We both have 38, we both have 39, we both have 40, we both have 42, and then I keep going. You have
47.
43 and I don't.
No, I don't think so. She doesn't. She's got
Oh,
that.
she
I have
does.
43.
Yes, she does.
Oh, you do?
Yes, she does, yes.
Oh.
I do.
I don't.
So this is the accessory retail
Yeah.
for industrial districts.
I mean, I'd certainly, I'd support it.
Why don't
Being
you?
like-
Yeah,
should-
well, so I'll tell you, my thinking about this is that, nobody had a question, nobody had a concern at the hearings about this, and this is basically, in industrial districts, it's already permitted for folks to sell the specific thing that they make, but I think the examples given were things like,
Soap.
So,
if you're making soap, you can sell the soap, but you can't sell a T-shirt that says soap company on it. And this just makes it clear that it's okay to sell the T-shirts that says your soap company name on it. And I think that this one is kind of an easy layup that
okay.
Makes
folks
sense.
are not very
Everybody
concerned
Yeah, I
about.
support it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Okay, and then from then on, I think we're in sync.
47's the
CPC?
Now, I do want to note
Yeah.
that there are those who will feel very strongly that Article 47, the community preservation appropriations, should not be on the consent calendar because
I was going to say.
this is the opportunity for the community to know about what these community preservation funds are being spent on, and the projects are exciting, and it's really the only townwide opportunity to publicize this work. On the other hand, this article takes a long time at town
But it's a
meeting
short one
because
this year.
yeah, well, no matter what, it just takes a long time to get through the
true.
presentation and so on, and it's almost always close to unanimously supported. So
There's nothing.
I think if we want to streamline town meeting, this is one that, notwithstanding all of the wonderful arguments for publicizing the work, the use to which we're putting community preservation funds, that in the interest of efficiency and making it easier for people to attend town meeting, it's appropriate for the consent calendar.
What are you going to
No,
say,
I was
Kim?
just saying, because it's come up a lot on the amenities building, and so therefore, what are we spending CPC funds on? What are we not spending it on? Can we spend it on stuff next year? I mean, I'm just.
And we didn't use all the funds actually this year.
There's money still available.
yeah,
Why is it money? So it just seems like a thing that has a lot of attention. That's all.
Well, we can't spend more than, right? So
Yeah.
I
Well, it's
would
likely
imagine-
that somebody might want to pull it off. If we put it on, someone might want to pull it off, and that
Yeah,
might be okay.
and if they
but-
have
Paul, do you
9
wanna-
friends, then it happens, but
Yeah.
it seems, the community
very
preservation appropriations will be fully spelled out in the briefing book. And
And there's nothing
They
controversial
will,
in it
and I
this
also
year.
will note that I have been approached by people interested in the possibility of amending either the amenities building article or this article, Article 47, to provide community preservation funds for the amenities building, but there is just no way to do that as a matter of law at this point in time. And I've passed that information on and explained why, and I have consulted with town council on it. So there's just, unless you got a question about what the Community Preservation Fund did choose to approve in terms of the proposals that were presented to them, there's really no reason for town meeting to have a complete discussion on this article.
That's a good point. Paul, do you want to make a comment? You want to come on?
Thank you. Paul Baum, 11 Ridgewood Road. I'm on the CPC. I think the benefit of having this off the consent calendar outweighs the efficiency part of the discussion. I think getting the public focused on these expenditures, because it's their tax money being spent for projects, and also from a quote-unquote marketing element, we'd like the public to be more aware of these funds. We had very few applications this year, which created the dilemma of having excess funds. We'd like to spend the money that we have to the extent we have viable projects. So I think having this open for discussion, or having just presented and the public aware of it, outweighs any efficiency benefits. My personal opinion, speaking for myself.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I will say
What do you
that
think,
Paul has absolutely clearly and concisely articulated the primary argument against putting this article on the consent calendar.
Yeah.
okay. I'm afraid we're not really helping you out here, Carmen, on your decision.
No, we're okay. So, Carmen, do you think we're settled here on what comes off and what stays on your list?
Are we
Well, I
agreeing on
think, although
CPC?
it's unclear to me what the select board thinks about the CPC article going on the consent calendar.
That's what I meant by we're not
That's
helping
what I
you out.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I would be in favor of taking that one off the consent calendar.
Yeah, I think that one could argue that the reason that we're not seeing an appropriation for the amenities building is because it's not as well understood as one would hope that it would be.
Actually, the comment you made, Carmen, about how legally it's not possible, I think that's something the community needs to hear. So we should probably have
Think
this.
about article being on or off the consent calendar.
That's an argument for it being off of the consent calendar.
Right, and I'm thinking now that probably 10 citizens will vote to take it off.
Right, so in the
we might
interest-
as well.
Keep it on, and
One
then
more-
encourage the
one-
CPC to.
Yeah.
One
Diane,
more comment if we can.
yes, Diane, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Diane Proctor, 57 Sudbury Road, on the CPC, but not speaking for them. The only problem with getting this discussion going is that people get confused. I've heard members of the select board say, well, why don't we just have the CPC decide that they're going to be doing this? And I think that can be very confusing to people. So if it stays off the consent calendar, then I think we should be very clear about what cannot happen in terms of early deliberations. Much less the increase of the expenditures, which also may not happen legally. I just think we need to be very clear about that when we start. So thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Picking up on that point, you know, in the early days of the CPC, this article was presented with a lot more, I feel, emphasis on the process that was used to appropriate money and apply, and less emphasis on the specific projects.
Yes.
And we've gotten to the point where it's a little bit of marketing for what each of the projects are. And so maybe in terms of presenting it for town meeting, it might be a good year to go back to a more process. What is it and why do we have it and how does it work?
That's right.
And then just a table of, and by the way, these are the things that went through the process and got funded this year.
Right. That's a good
So
idea.
that might be a way to, and I think that actually the efficiency gain, this discussion is enough to convince me that we'll save time getting the consent calendar approved if we just don't try to put it on,
That's
because.
right.
I think you're probably right, yeah.
Somebody's going to pull it
Yeah,
off anyway.
exactly.
Okay,
Might as
so-
well.
But
Yeah.
All right, so I think if Diane and Paul can take this feedback back to Burton, who I think will make the presentation, as far as focusing on the process instead of just the results.
Right.
I think that would be very helpful, and also use it as a marketing tool to get more applications. So I think we're giving you some good feedback, and I think we've agreed. Carmen, I think you're hearing us say that we want this to not be on the consent calendar.
And I
am hearing you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I have one more suggestion.
Yeah.
About something that should go on the consent calendar, Article 57.
Yes.
Unpaid bills. Do we want that on consent calendar or we don't?
Good question.
I'll tell you why not, Terry. That article requires a 4/5 vote.
Got it. Thank you. That's
Okay.
good enough.
Enough reason.
And so, if it's not unanimous, we have to count it unless we're
right.
using electronic voting. And, we already have a zoning bylaws on it, so it requires a 2/3, but
Yeah,
I don't think
forgot
that's
about
a
that.
problem.
Yep. 4/5 vote. Thank you.
All right, good.
Okay, so the next thing we need to do is, Carmen, I think you asked for some guidance from us as far as articles that were considered high interest that might be pre-scheduled. And,
Yes, thank you. So there are 4 articles which I have identified as high-interest articles, and I want to remind everyone that the town meeting study committee has urged the moderator to make more robust identification of articles that are of high interest. And, the recommendations that they all be scheduled for one night, and I must confess that I'm reluctant to do that because I think that one of the purposes for 2 reasons. One is that if you've got more than 2 high-interest articles scheduled on an evening, the third one has kind of lost the point because it may be 2 hours into the meeting before it gets taken up. And the other reason is the other reason I'm going to remember in a minute. Sorry about that.
Well,
That happens.
I think another reason is that you get like 1,000 people on one night and, 50 people on the other nights. So that doesn't make sense.
Spread out the wealth.
Well, that I'm less concerned about,
Okay.
Terry, because I think that if you schedule a high-interest article... Oh, okay, all right. The second point is that it's not necessarily true that the same segment of the community
Yes,
That's true.
has
That's right.
high
Same
interest in
interest.
all of the high-interest articles. There may
Correct.
be it may be different.
Right.
And
Will be different.
And so for that reason, I'm less troubled by the notion of scheduling a high interest article for each of Monday, Wednesday, and Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Monday is a hard night to schedule a high interest article because we do so much at the beginning of the meeting. So it's hard to schedule something at a time specific. So it really does kind of leave us with Tuesday, Wednesday. But the four articles that I've identified are, one is the roads project, the debt exclusion for road maintenance, that's Article 8.
Yep.
The second is Article 13, which
Yep.
is the amenities building for CCHS. The third is the Stormwater Enterprise Fund, Article 34. And then finally is Article 46, the citizen petition for the continuing care retirement community overlay district for Newbury Court.
Got it.
And, my original thought had been, well, once we're done with the consent calendar on Monday night, Article 8 is the second article to come up right after the town budget. So there's no particular reason to schedule that as high interest. It's going to come up on a night when we have a lot of people there, and it's going to come up early. And then my thought was that we could schedule the amenities building and the Stormwater Enterprise Fund to follow one after the other on Tuesday, starting at 6:45. I've consulted with the school committee, and their considered view is that they really want all of the school articles to come up on the same night, as in Monday. That may mean that the amenities building does not actually come up until 9:30 on Monday, given where it's currently scheduled. And I'm not sure exactly what to do with it to try and pre-schedule it for a different time on Monday at a point that would make sense, because I think it's important for voters to understand the overall expenditures that they are being asked to fund through their property taxes, so they have a context for making a decision on Article 13. But I can leave it there, and I have put the question to the school committee, well, if the amenities building article doesn't come up until 9:30, is that still better to have all those articles on one night than it would be to schedule it as a high interest article on Tuesday? So I'm mindful of their input there, but that's the one I feel the least sure about. The Stormwater Enterprise Fund, I think, is definitely high interest, and I would like to see us take that up as the first or second article on Tuesday. And I'm proposing the zoning bylaw amendment for the continuing care retirement community, that's Article 46, to be the first article that comes up on Wednesday. That seems to me to make a lot of sense, because I think that most of the zoning articles are likely to be taken up on Wednesday in any event. So I'm interested in your feedback on these. And I should note that whatever I determine is a high interest article and will be specially scheduled, we will publicize that on the website. It will be front and center in the town meeting briefing book. We will send it out in news and notices. We will ask the Concord Bridge to cover it so that people will know that if this is the article you care about, this is the time that you should come to town meeting to participate in the deliberation and the vote. So, over to you. What are your thoughts?
Thank you. I think it's a good idea to I see that, to pre-schedule some of these. I had some other articles that I wanted to consider to pre-schedule, and I'd like to discuss that. But before we do, Eric Moore has his hand up, so I'd like to hear from Eric.
Hi, good evening. Eric Moore, Francis Street in Concord, speaking for the Town Meeting Study Committee. Our recommendation to the moderator was to schedule on one night where practical. The moderator's judgment clearly is respecting practicalities, and so in that sense, it's very consistent with what we asked. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So Carmen and the Select Board, the other articles that I would like us to just consider pre-scheduling would be Article 25, which is the transfer of the Peabody School and appropriate funds. And I don't have a strong feeling about this, but I do know that there's a lot of interest in what's going to happen with the Peabody School. We have an answer, which is that it's part of the land use working group's charge, but I'm wondering if this is something, I don't know, what do other people think? Do you think this is?
Mary, if I might weigh in here.
Yeah.
Article 25 only asks for the transfer from the school department to the town, which is clearly going to happen because the school
Right.
department doesn't want it anymore. And the other thing that it asks for is enough money to keep the lights on and the plumbing from freezing. And it really has nothing to do with what the use of that property is going forward.
I'm aware of that. I'm just wondering if that's going to be questions from the floor. But it's not high, but never mind. It's not high enough to pre-schedule. It
I
can just
guess
come up.
what I'm suggesting, Mary, is that if people want to talk about the use of the building, I'm going to rule those questions out of order.
Okay, good. What about remote participation? Article 27.
You know, I suppose that could be high interest. I do think that since it's an article that's asking for special legislation, that is such a slow and painstaking process, I'm not really feeling the urgency of this one. And I think that people who care about this article will be there to participate in the discussion.
What do other people think?
I sort of agree. I mean, I don't think it has to be high
Scheduled,
interest, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I agree with
There'll be
Carmen.
some interested people, but I
Right,
agree.
yeah.
I don't think we need to.
It's the second time we're taking this up, right?
Well, no, it
Oh,
got
I guess
deferred
we
last
took it
time.
off.
Got
That's
Well,
deferred.
right.
we
That's right.
referred it last
That's
year,
true.
yeah.
That's true.
Yep.
And then the other ones that I had were Article 44, which right now, as I'm thinking about it, I'm changing my mind, but I do want to talk about 45, if that should be something that we,
PRD.
yeah, what Wendy just explained to us in Matt's absence. There's been a lot of discussion about this, I know, in the housing community.
Yep.
So I just wonder, what do people think? If
You know,
this is
I think
something,
they're all going to be done together, right?
yeah, they are. Well, they're all going to be done probably
I
on
think
Wednesday, right?
45 will take a long time, and it'll be really interesting.
Yep.
But I don't think you're going to have a big crowd thinking about it in advance
Okay.
and showing up, because they don't even
That's
get
fine.
it
Yeah.
yet.
Good, okay. So, anybody else have any
Well,
articles they thought?
my only thought is that, I think based on what Carmen was saying, and maybe this is where she was gonna land anyway, is not to schedule anything high interest on Monday night and just
Right.
plan to
Going,
go 8 right down through and expect not to, maybe we'll just watch the clock and make sure that we get to, at least to Article 13 before the end of the night.
And if we
One would hope
don't,
we
it'll
get
go to
further
the
than
next
that.
day.
Yeah, so.
I mean,
It'll be first thing.
it's going to be a long night. I mean, it's risky if they're,
And then the two, 34 and 46 can be pre-scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday, and so we really only have 2 scheduled and everything else is in order.
So,
Stormwater's
Good.
Tuesday, right?
I-
Yeah,
I
Tuesday,
mean, I don't
Wednesday.
have a better answer, so I don't,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a hard one, right? Because
yeah.
you want to keep the school stuff together.
yep,
Okay. The risk you run is that you don't get to the amenities building, and then
Right.
people say, "Hey, I showed up Monday night. I thought I was here for all the school stuff. I got my babysitter, and the night ended,
Right,
and I
right.
didn't get." So that's the risk. But I don't have a better.
I don't either.
Since I don't have a better answer,
Yeah.
think you sort of
Right.
roll with it. Right?
Well, I think that it's also possible to declare the intention to try to make that and remind the meeting of how fast
And
it's
move along,
moving.
right? Yeah.
If it seems to be
That's a good idea, move
Yeah.
along.
going,
What can we
dragging,
do to at least get through Article 13?
yeah, remember,
The goal.
So,
yeah,
Carmen, can you remind me again, what are the articles that you're going to pre-schedule again?
34 and 46.
So
Yeah.
I will pre-schedule Article 34 for Tuesday night.
Yep,
And I will pre-schedule Article 46 for Wednesday night as
Very
the
good.
first article that we take up.
very
And
good.
then my inclination is not to pre-schedule Article 13, the amenities building on Tuesday, given the given the preference expressed by the school committee on behalf of school-aged parents. And there's no particular need to schedule Article 8 for high interest because it will already be the second article that we take up.
Right.
If I may, your reactions have been most helpful to me. Thank you very much. I'm very glad that you all appreciate the conundrum that the scheduling for the school articles presents. Let me take this moment to note that among the recommendations that the town meeting study committee is going to bring forward is that the select board consider making a motion for a rule of the meeting for a maximum deliberation time on articles. And if you did that, we would be assured, for example, that we could get to Article 13 before we're done on Monday. You know, the problem that we face is, well, what if we spend an hour and a half on Article 8? That may put us in a situation where we can't get to Article 13. But if the select board has made a motion that the maximum amount of time we're going to spend on deliberating an article is, for example, a half hour or 45 minutes, then we can be fairly certain that we would get to Article 13. If you made such a motion, it would of course be the vote of the meeting by a majority. So it would be the meeting that would choose whether they wish to limit themselves in that way. Otherwise, what happens is when the dialogue begins to be repetitive, I can do various things like remind people that if your point's already been made, maybe this would be a good time to sit down and let someone else to talk. That doesn't typically generate a lot of action by people standing in line. I can also ask for just kind of a show of voting slips. So how many of you have made up your mind how you're going to vote? And if it's almost unanimous, that also doesn't seem to cause people to sit down. And then, therefore, we're either going to end the debate when no one else is left at a microphone, or when randomly someone comes to the microphone and makes a motion to call the question.
Yeah.
But if we know that we are going to stop debate at a half hour, 45 minutes, that would create a different situation. So I know this is not on your agenda for discussion tonight, so I'm not asking you to discuss it now. But Mary, I guess I would ask you to put this on the agenda for your next meeting to just consider as something that the select board could do if it wanted to.
I will, Carmen.
Thank you. Interesting idea. Thank you.
So I think while we're on this roll, we might want to go back to what Shannon and Mark were talking about earlier and have someone speak, or who's going to move these articles, the ones that were sponsored by the select board.
Okay.
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 So the first one,
We started this list before, so I'll just remind us.
Go ahead, tell us.
I had said that I would cover Articles 4 and 5. Then we skipped down to 26.
Wait, is this to put in the motion? There's two different things.
Yeah,
the motions.
Let's talk about what has to get in the motion, right? Because that has to get printed.
By the
Personnel board.
Personnel board.
So,
Chair.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Articles that you need to go through are ones that are both sponsored by the select board, and also some are sponsored by the town manager and CFO, that a select board member typically moves.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Can we do it
So
by
the
this?
first one is the choose town officers. So we can just go down the middle column here and see. So I think that this is probably the chair, right? These are pretty perfunctory articles. So
Yeah.
I'll do that one. I'll do number 2. The next,
Mary, if I
Yes.
might,
Just the words.
there's no action, there's no motion and
So,
no
okay,
action
don't
under
even have-
Article 1. That's just an announcement of election results.
okay, great.
So-
We don't have to do anything. What about number 6? That's,
No motion on 6.
oh, you're right, good, thank
So
you.
the town budget.
The town budget, is this something that's typically done by the select board or the town manager?
Needs to be
The
a
The
resident.
town manager is not a
So,
Concord resident
yeah.
and therefore
That'll be
cannot
me.
make a motion.
So that's
I'll
Mary.
do that one. Okay, the next one is the debt improvement plan.
And again, this is just what gets put in that printed
We don't have
article.
to
It's not
stand up
who's
and talk.
speaking to it quite
No,
yet.
I can do that.
Right?
I'll do
That's
that.
just what's
I'll
printed
do
in
that.
the-
Okay,
Is that
put my
number
name.
9 you're talking about?
I am. Yep, yep. Okay, so the next one would be the amenities building. And this is,
Oh.
That's not us.
it is us though, isn't it? Because we're raising the debt.
Weird.
Oh,
It is the town.
Oh,
It is.
sorry.
Because we're the ones raising the debt.
Yeah, because it's a regional project, it's Concord's debt.
Anybody want to put their name on
You
this?
can put mine on. I'm the liaison to school committee.
Got it. So that's Wendy Ravelli. Very good. The next one would be number 18 and 19, 20.
Stabilization.
Yeah, and the OPEB. So these 4 articles. So the stabilization funds, I'm the liaison to the finance committee. So I guess I should do that one. And then the OPEB, I've got, who else wants to do that? Anybody want to do that?
I can do that.
Okay.
I got retirement.
You're the retirement
Just your
boards,
name,
okay.
I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but
You're not doing
I
it.
volunteered.
The transfer of the middle school stabilization fund,
You can put me on that if you want.
the Peabody,
I'll do that.
are you copying these down? Great.
Yeah, she's writing them on the screen.
26,
Which one?
Oh, this is the,
Leasing of land.
this is for like the self, I'm happy
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah,
remote participation, this should be you,
I should do
Cameron.
that one.
yeah.
Yeah, you should do that one. Yeah.
I'm happy to do those next two, lines 34 and 35.
And then 29, no motion,
Wait.
no motion, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Article 30,
Cell tower.
That's middle school?
yeah.
Wait,
That's the grant of easement for the cell phone tower.
What about you, Mark?
Actually, you want me to do that one?
Yeah, why don't you do that
Okay.
one? Mark's going to do 30.
All right, and I'm doing 33. Yeah, I'm actually going to present 33, so.
I'm already on 31 from a different night. Oh, wait, we got
What,
that
the
public
easements?
works, never
What?
mind.
No.
what?
No,
That's the other
Yeah, yeah.
list, never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, yeah.
which I don't think we're going to do that.
Yeah, we're not doing that list.
All right, planning.
And all these motions for the revolving funds.
Those tend to get done by the Public Works Commission, so I can't see the numbers there, but it's, okay, thank you, 50, 51,
Yeah, those are-
52,
Public
53.
Works, yeah.
Those would be by the Public Works Commission, but someone needs to move
No, the revolving fund.
49.
48. Typically, 49 is moved by somebody from the Light Board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I can do it if you need somebody from the select board, but we can have somebody
Well, it
from
has
the
to be a
light board.
town citizen, right? So Cameron, that makes sense.
Yeah, but the light board has citizens, so I think we should have
Oh,
someone
okay,
from them
yeah.
do it.
Yeah, I mean, if someone from them.
What about
if they can
40?
do it, that's great.
48, do we need a person for 48?
We do.
I'll do that.
Great.
PEG fund.
PEG fund,
That's typically the PEG Access Committee, the chair of whatever that, I don't remember who the chair is right now, but that's typically the person who would move that.
Vincent, that's
Carlson.
Vince Carlson. Good.
Okay.
So it'd be Vince Carlson.
Yeah.
And then the last one would be the BD. Would this be Phil Griffiths?
From the rest.
Yeah, I thought so, okay. And then the parking meter fund, oh, gosh.
We need
Put
a
me
select
on it.
board member for that.
Yeah, I can do it.
I'll
Wendy.
do it.
Terry will do it.
Okay.
Okay,
Terry.
fair-
Someone has to move unpaid bills as well. Oh,
I'll do-
actually, usually that can be the chair of the finance committee, or it can be a select board member.
I'll do it. I mean, put my name. I'm not going to do
I
anything.
know.
I'm not going to do anything. Okay. Next thing we need to do is we need to figure out, and we might not want to do this now, but do we want to ask to have a minute at the podium in support of some of these articles? And I think maybe we should do that next week.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
that's
can
what
it
I thought
wait?
we were
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
before.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you got 2 things for next week? Great, very good.
Great.
Mary, on that topic, I would note, Shannon, can you help remind me? I think it's the 14th that is the date for the town moderators, town meeting coordination meeting, where we will assign times for,
I don't think that's the date, because I think it's on a Friday, and that date's a Wednesday.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
She's
14th
saying
is
that
a
she
Wednesday.
thinks that it's on a Friday, not a Wednesday.
Okay, so maybe it's
So
the
that would be
16th.
the 16th.
16.
So that's the date on which we would assign times for presentations on articles, as well as have an indication of what boards and committees wish to speak in support of various articles. And the typical time is 1 to 2 minutes to speak in support of an article. So
Okay.
it would be great to have someone from the select board participate in that meeting, but if you can't, it would just be nice to have you communicate the information to us on which articles the select board would like to speak on and who I should be looking to speak from the select board.
We will. We'll talk about that on Monday, the 12th,
Do we know what time that is?
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'll volunteer to cover that meeting if we want to do it that way.
Well, let's wait and see what we decide on. We'll talk about it
Okay.
on the 12th. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Very good. So, Carmen, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah.
I think so too. And by the way, I just want to say I would have been a photograph in addition to a disembodied voice, but I seem to be precluded from starting my video because the host has stopped it. So sorry about that.
It's a nice picture.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Moving right along, the chair's report, I have very, very quick things. Next Monday, May 12th, we're starting at 5 o'clock with an executive session, going until 6 o'clock. And we are also going to, we have some things we need to close up about town meeting, and we'll have other people here to talk with us. I will publish the agenda on Wednesday. If anybody wants a preview of what we're doing next Monday. Oh, gosh. The FinCom's going to be here to talk about the stabilization articles and also to talk about their suggestions to develop financial policies, which I think we will put as a goal in FY26.
Oh, yeah.
Deaconess will be in here to present the latest on their article. We're going to have an update on the pilot program and the revenue projections associated with that, and that's about it. And then on May 19th, we're having a housing roundtable here in the hearing room from 5 to 6:30, followed by what I hope is a brief select board meeting.
Oh, we are going to have one. I was just going to, yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, and the Housing Roundtable is going to engage the MCI Advisory Board for a conversation about housing and MCI.
Yes, very good. You're right.
Good.
That's the major part of the meeting.
Yeah.
It's there will be updates by the housing community, but the majority, the heart of the meeting is the MCI. Good. That's all I got. Town manager's report.
Thank you. I will be quick. There was a report in the packet last week, but I did not go through it. So I'm looking at that same report. And a lot of the information, I think it was probably one of the best reports that we put together, but a lot of the information is dated. So I did want to just mention a couple of things. We did push that report out through MailChimp for the first time. That has been a goal to do that. We got some positive feedback. There are other town newsletters that go out that way that last week was the first time for us. The few things that I wanted to mention is that there was a second round of the census mailing. So if you received a letter from the town clerk asking for your census form to be returned, it means that you have not. And if you don't, within a timely manner, you get moved to the inactive role for voting. So you want to attend to that if you received a letter. If you have any questions, please reach out to the town clerk's office. I wanted to mention that Town Archives recently completed its CPA-funded project to preserve the town's copy of the Declaration of Independence. I'm not sure everyone in town knows that the town has a copy of the Declaration of Independence. It's pretty neat. There aren't a whole lot of copies left. It is on display at the main library through June 30, 2025.
I'm gonna go see that.
Let's see. It's not as big as you
Yes,
would think
yes.
it is. I think that was my observation. I thought it would be bigger, and I thought it would not be as well preserved as it is, but it's very well preserved. And we did go through some additional preservation work as well. What else did the visitor center is reporting that we are sold out of all of our 250th memorabilia, so you have to buy it on the secondary market if you're interested in that.
It's gonna go way up in value.
Both the
StubHub the tickets if you want.
both the Main and the Fowler libraries will be closed this Friday for their staff training, so closed all day. Let's see. I think the only other thing I wanted to mention is that we do have a demo kit for the town meeting clickers. So our IT staff is testing out the clickers over the next couple of weeks to make sure that we are ready for annual town meeting. And that's pretty much what I had on the list. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And the last thing on our list is liaison reports. Wendy, thank you very much for putting your liaison report in writing. I find that very interesting. I'm glad to see that there. Does anybody else have any liaison reports that they'd like to share with us?
Well, I just want to mention, I went to the, I'm sure Mark's going to talk about it, very good MCI meeting today. I was on Zoom, and it was really interesting. So
Is that a regular meeting?
It was a regular meeting of the board, but it was an exercise that related to some of the sort of visualizing the challenges of doing housing and development. It was it's part of a process to develop these scenarios that are coming forward, and this one was particularly focused on housing. So not necessarily a version of the scenarios, but some of the sort of distribution of how one might go about that. So it was meant to be an exercise for the advisory board to try to get a better feeling for it. There was some information presented about sort of preliminary, again, based on the economic analysis, which suggested how much, what kind of densities would be involved in various levels of housing development on the site. That actually is, the second major event in a week, just going backwards. Last Tuesday, we had a very successful MCI public engagement forum.
Yeah, they were great.
We got a chance to use the Giroux Pavilion, which
Yeah,
was,
it's
it was a
nice.
gorgeous day outside. We had about 150 participants between the two sessions. The evening session took place at Harvey Wheeler. Actually, I misspoke. That was on Wednesday, not
Yeah,
Tuesday.
it was Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, and that was rescheduled from the high school to try to sort of stay out of the way of some of the things that were going on at the high school last week.
And Megan got ice cream.
Yeah,
I
it
know,
was-
I didn't get any.
We got a food permit.
And, that's,
You got a
Did they run
it's
out?
going to be a busy month, so we'll see the MCI, the agency consulting group, as well as the MCI advisory board popping up at a lot of different events. The housing roundtable, as we mentioned, there's a to-be-scheduled transportation discussion that's also going to take place as we look at the various options, trying to get us to a position where by the end of the month, mark May 28th, and if you hear anybody trying to schedule anything on May 28th, that's going to be the public engagement presentations around what these three scenarios that are designed to help us differentiate between possible uses of the site are going to be presented to the community. I don't have times on that yet. Maybe Megan, no, we don't have times yet either, but it'll probably be somewhat similar to what we did last Wednesday. So those things are really moving right along. Beyond that, I covered a lot of finance committee things last week.
So they're not coming specifically to a select board meeting yet?
No, not yet. I believe the 28th is that actually?
It's public.
Yeah, that's
Oh, no,
public.
yeah,
So
those are the public
the-
ones, too.
the final recommendation is going to come to us on the June 30th select board meeting, but I don't know that we have an intermediate update scheduled.
But they're meeting with the transportation committee, but the date isn't set yet?
That isn't set yet.
Okay,
So their website is up and running. It's mci-concord.org. And specifically on that webpage, there's a list of events, which is a good way to do that. There is also an up and running survey for anybody that wants to provide written input. And the materials from these various workshops, if you didn't get a chance to get to the workshops, there are links to some of the recordings of all of the meetings are recorded of the board, and there are links to materials that people can look at and then provide written input if that's what they'd like to do. So it's going to be a very busy 6 weeks or so as we try to bring this.
Yes, okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything? Cameron?
No, just the town meeting study committee's doing a great job pulling together the final
When are they going to wrap up?
report. It's being drafted. Eric might be still on. I don't know if he is, but he might be able to comment.
Yeah, sorry, if I may, this is Eric Moore from the Town Meeting Study Committee of Francis Street. We are pretty close to a final draft on our committee report. We've produced some material to go into the briefing book, which is really the first 5 pages of the final report. We have a few more recommendations to discuss, but for the most part, we're done, and it's really about getting the reporting out. Thank you.
Yeah, what I'm eager to do is reassign some of the people on your committee to other committees. So that's why I'd really like to see you. I'd like to see you wrap up.
Fair enough. Thank you.
But there's it's got through a number of iterations, as you can imagine, because there's a lot of information. The team's done a fantastic job. So, and then I think I mentioned I'm planning on going to the economic vitality on Wednesday morning.
Is that when it is?
Yeah, I think it's Wednesday at 7:30 as a
The
breakfast
business
meeting.
partnership.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
That was-
tomorrow.
Right.
Wednesday.
No, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It's
The
Wednesday.
The 7th.
It's Wednesday?
Yeah.
Oh.
We all got an invite,
In
right?
Newbury Court.
Yeah, I knew that. I thought it was tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday. It's Wednesday morning. So just I
Okay,
don't
so
know
it's
if other
not the
people are
economic
planning on-
vitality, it's the
Yeah.
Concord
Sorry.
Business Partnership.
Sorry, the business
Okay,
partnership. Sorry.
and what are they going to talk about?
There-
I know SCAR was one thing, and then
There's
there
all the warrant articles, right, that
and they
have
want
some
to talk
kind of
about the other
interest to the
warrant
business,
articles.
yeah.
Right. So.
Yes, you should go.
Well, they said with the invitation I received was with the select board.
I know, so I actually was going to ask about that.
So-
Were
I got a
Is that
phone
a
call
command
inviting
performance?
me, and I thought it was tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I guess the communication
Yeah,
isn't
sorry,
optimal.
Yes.
So, but it was just I didn't hear it going to this other. Of course, you can go. It's
But I guess-
Wednesday morning.
Yeah. No, I just didn't know
Wednesday.
if other people were going and we were going to have like a quorum there or something.
Oh, I
just
see
didn't
what
Well,
you
actually, we were
I'm
all,
going on Wednesday.
I don't think I got
so we all
that.
got invited. It just came this afternoon, late this
Oh,
afternoon.
okay.
And I'm like, oh, do I have to go to that?
Oh.
Because I didn't know. Well, because it said it was with the select board. I'm like, did we agree?
Oh.
Okay.
I have a
No, the
conflict.
communication was a little bit.
No, I have a conflict, so I wasn't going to go.
Okay, so
But if
I
you're
will
going, great.
You'll be there.
Yes.
Okay, you'll be there.
I'm not sure.
Generally always.
You'll be there.
Yeah, I just am wondering if they're expecting some type of presentation.
No,
don't-
Maybe we should.
seemed like it just a discuss. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that was not my impression was show up and we can have a chat.
Have breakfast.
Yeah.
Well, there's a free breakfast, there's that going for it. I don't know what.
Okay.
Good.
Can somebody reach out to them and see what they're expecting from the select board, because,
You want to do, okay.
would you do that, Megan, and let us know?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, we all set?
That's good.
Anything
Move
else?
to adjourn?
Yeah, so
Second?
moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good, thank you very much.